Hi guys, tonight we step quietly into the deep, frozen winter of the past. The sun is sinking, the air is turning cold. It feels like ice against your cheeks. The wind is coming off the fields like a cold river, finding every gap in your clothes. You can hear the dry grass snapping under your boots. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you want to let me know where you are listening from and what time it is where you are. I always love seeing those little snapshots of the world. Now dim the lights and let the story begin. You are walking through a wide, open field. The sky above you is a pale, watery grey. It is that special colour the sky turns just before the sun goes down in the middle of winter. There are no clouds, just a flat sheet of grey light that seems to press down on the world. The air is very still. It is so still that you can hear your own breath. It sounds loud in the quiet evening. You breathe in, and the air feels sharp in your nose. It smells of frost and old, dry leaves. You breathe out, and a cloud of white steam floats in front of your face. It hangs there for a moment, a little ghost of warmth, before it disappears into the cold air. You look down at your feet. You are wearing heavy leather boots. The leather is old and cracked, but it is thick. Inside the boots, your feet are wrapped in strips of wool to keep them warm. You take a step. Crunch. The ground beneath you is hard. In the summer, this field was soft, brown mud. Your feet would have sunk deep into the wet earth. But tonight, the ground is like stone. The mud has frozen into solid shapes. You can see the deep lines where the plough went through the soil months ago. These lines are called furrows. They are frozen now, looking like waves on a dark ocean that suddenly stopped moving. You walk carefully over the uneven ground. You do not want to twist your ankle on the hard earth. The grass is stiff. Each blade of grass is covered in a fine coat of white frost. It looks like sugar has been sprinkled over the field. When you step on the grass, it does not bend softly. It breaks with a dry, snapping sound. Snap, crunch, snap. This is the only sound in the vast, empty field. You pull your coat tighter around you. Your coat is made of rough, grey wool. It is not soft like the clothes you wear today. It feels scratchy and heavy, but it is very warm. It still has the natural oil from the sheep in it. This oil helps to keep the wind and the damp out. You have a belt tied around your waist, pulling the wool close to your body to trap your heat. You pull your hood up over your head. The hood covers your ears and the back of your neck. It creates a little tunnel for your face, protecting you from the biting air. The cold here is serious. It is not just uncomfortable, it is dangerous. In this time, hundreds of years ago, there are no radiators, there are no electric blankets, there is only fire, and there is only shelter. If you stay out here in the open field for too long after the sun goes down, the cold will seep into your bones. It will make you sleepy, and you might not wake up. You know this. Every person in your village knows this. It is a simple fact of life, like the rising of the sun. So, you keep moving. You do not stop to rest. You look ahead. In the distance, you can see the edge of the forest. The trees are black skeletons against the grey sky. They have no leaves. Their branches look like thin fingers reaching up. They look lonely. But you are not going to the forest. You are heading towards a small shape in the middle of the valley. It is a village, but it is very small. It is just a cluster of small houses huddled together. They look like little mounds of earth rising out of the ground. There are no streetlights to guide you. There are no glowing windows. Glass is far too expensive for a simple worker of the land. The windows are just small holes in the walls, and they are covered up tight with wooden shutters to keep the heat inside. The village looks dark and quiet, but you know there is life there. As you get closer, you can smell it. It is a faint, sweet smell on the winter air. It smells of wood smoke. It is the smell of oak and ash burning in a dozen small fires. It is the smell of safety. You walk faster now. The cold is starting to pinch your fingers inside your mittens. Your nose feels numb. You want to be inside. You want to be near the fire. You pass the first house. It sits low to the ground. You can see a thin line of grey smoke rising lazily from the roof. It does not come from a chimney, because there are no chimneys here. The smoke just finds its way out through the straw on the roof. It drifts up and disappears into the darkening sky. You keep walking until you reach your own home. It stands at the end of the muddy track. It is not a castle. It is not a grand manor with stone walls. It is a simple, humble cottage. It is the place where you were born, and where you sleep every night. You stop in front of it. The house looks heavy and strong. It looks like it grew out of the earth itself. The roof is steep and tall, reaching up high. It is covered in thick layers of dried reeds, which is called thatch. The thatch is old and grey, blending in with the winter sky. The walls are not straight and perfect. They are a bit lumpy and uneven. They are painted white with a mixture of lime and water, but the white is stained with mud and smoke. There is a small garden patch in front of the house. In the summer, this patch is full of green vegetables. There would be peas, beans, and onions growing here. But now, the garden is sleeping. The ground is bare and brown. There is nothing growing. The plants have all been harvested, eaten, or stored away for the long winter. A small wooden fence surrounds the garden, but the wood is old and leaning to one side. You stand by the wooden gate for a moment. The sun has almost completely gone now. The grey light is turning into a deep, dark blue. The shadows are getting longer and stretching across the snow. The wind picks up again. It rushes past your ears with a low whoosh sound. It rattles the dry branches of a bush near the door. You shiver. The cold is trying to find a way in. It presses against your wool coat. It nips at your exposed cheeks. This is the reality of the night shift in winter. The world outside is hostile. It does not care if you are cold. It does not care if you are tired. It just is. The frost will keep growing. The wind will keep blowing. The only warmth to be found is the warmth you make for yourself. You look at the heavy wooden door of your cottage. It is made of thick planks of oak. It has big iron hinges that look like black claws. There is no handle like you would see today. Just a simple latch. This door is the barrier. On one side is the freezing night, the wind, and the ice. On the other side is your family, your food, and your fire. You reach out with your gloved hand. You can feel the rough wood of the door, even through the wool of your mitten. You lift the latch. It makes a heavy clack sound. You push the door open. It swings inward with a low creak. Immediately, you are hit by a wave of different air. It is not hot, not yet, but it is still. It smells of earth, smoke, and dried herbs. It smells of living things. You step over the high wooden step at the bottom of the doorway. This step is there to keep the straw inside from falling out, and to keep the cold drafts from sweeping along the floor. You step inside and push the heavy door shut behind you. You drop the wooden bar across it to lock it. The wind outside gives one last push against the wood, rattling it in its frame, but the door holds firm. You are inside now. The long walk is over. The freezing fields are behind you. Now, you must prepare to survive the night. You stand still for a moment just inside the door. You let your eyes get used to the gloom. Outside, the world was a flat, grey sheet of cold light. Inside, it is a deep, warm shadow. The light from the small fire in the centre of the room is weak. It flickers and dances, casting long, jumping shapes against the walls. It takes a minute for your eyes to stop seeing the bright snow and start seeing the room around you. You take a deep breath. The air here is different. It is thick. It does not rush into your lungs like the sharp air outside. It sits heavy and still. It tastes of oak smoke and old dust. It is a comfortable smell. It smells like home. You walk slowly towards the wall. You reach out your hand and place it on one of the great wooden beams that holds the house up. This is the skeleton of your home. Just as you have bones inside your skin to keep you standing tall, the house has these great timber bones. The beam feels cool under your palm. It is not freezing like the iron latch on the door. It is a gentle, solid coolness. The wood is hard, like stone. You run your fingers down the surface. It is not perfectly smooth like a table you might buy in a shop today. It is bumpy and uneven. You can feel the ripples in the wood. These ripples tell a story. They are the marks left by the tools of the men who built this house long ago. They did not use saws to cut this wood. They used a tool called an adze. An adze is like an axe, but the blade is turned sideways. The builder would swing it down, chipping away small pieces of wood to shape the trunk. Chop, chop, chop. You can feel those chop marks now under your fingertips. Each little dip in the wood is a memory of a man working hard in the summer sun, years and years before you were born. It connects you to them. You are touching the same spot they touched. You look up. The beam you are touching is huge. It is as wide as your chest. It rises up from the dirty floor, curving gently as it goes higher. It bends inward, reaching for the center of the roof. Across the room, on the opposite wall, there is another beam just like it. It curves up to meet this one. They meet at the very top of the roof, leaning against each other. This shape is special. It is called a cruck frame. To build a house like this, the builders had to go deep into the forest. They were not looking for straight, tall trees. Straight trees are for ships' masts or church towers. For a house, they looked for crook trees. They looked for great oak trees that had grown with a natural bend in them. Maybe the wind bent the tree when it was young. Maybe it grew out from the side of a steep hill. When they found the perfect bent tree, they would cut it down. Then, they would slice it right down the middle. From top to bottom, they would open it up like a book. One half of the tree became the beam on the left. The other half became the beam on the right. Because they came from the same tree, they match perfectly. They have the same curve. They have the same strength. You trace the curve of the wood with your eyes. It looks like a great ribcage. It feels as if you are standing inside the belly of a giant sleeping animal. Or maybe it looks like a boat turned upside down. The curves are graceful and strong. They have been holding up this heavy roof for 100 years, and they will hold it up for 100 more. You step closer to the wood. The color is dark, almost black. This is not the natural color of the oak. When it was first cut, the wood was a pale, honey gold. But the fire has been burning in this room every day and every night for decades. The smoke rises up and wraps around the beams. Year after year, the smoke has stained the wood. It has turned it a deep, rich chocolate brown. This layer of soot and smoke is actually good for the wood. It hardens it. It keeps the insects away. It preserves the timber, pickling it in smoke. You look at the place where a smaller piece of wood joins the big curved beam. Today, you would use a big metal nail or a screw to hold two pieces of wood together. But here, metal is rare. Iron is precious. You do not waste iron on a house wall. You need iron for plow tips and knife blades. So, you look closely at the join. There is no metal. Instead, you see a small, round circle of wood driven into the beam. This is a peg. The builders drilled a hole through both pieces of wood. Then they took a piece of dry, hard oak and whittled it until it was round. They hammered this wooden peg into the hole. It fits so tightly that you cannot pull it out. As the wood ages, the peg swells up and bites into the beam. It becomes one solid piece. It is a simple, clever way to build. It uses what the forest gives you. You tap the peg with your knuckle. It makes a dull, solid sound. It feels permanent. Outside, the wind gusts again. You hear it slam against the side of the house. Thud. The wind wants to knock the house down. It wants to blow the roof off and scatter the straw across the frozen fields. But the house does not move. The great curved beams do not even shudder. They just absorb the blow. They are rooted to the ground, heavy and unmoving. You feel a sense of safety wash over you. It is a deep, primal feeling. The world outside is chaotic and wild. It is a place of storms and freezing temperatures. But in here, inside this wooden ribcage, there is order. There is strength. These beams are your guardians. They stand silently in the dark, holding the weight of the snow and the thatch so that you can sleep without fear. You run your hand down the beam one last time, feeling the rough grain against your skin. The wood feels dry. It feels dead, but in a way, it is still alive. It shifts and settles with the seasons. In the damp autumn, the wood swells a little. In the dry summer, it shrinks. Sometimes, late at night, when the house is totally quiet, you can hear the beams talking. They make loud crack or pop sounds. It can be startling if you are not used to it, but you know what it is. It is just the house settling. It is just the old oak tree stretching its bones. You lean your shoulder against the beam. It feels solid and unyielding. It supports you. You are small compared to this massive timber. You are just a fleeting moment in the life of this house. Generations of your family have leaned against this same beam. Your father stood here. His mother stood here. They all touched this wood. They all trusted it to keep the winter out. And it did. They survived. And so you are here today. The shadows above you are thick. You cannot see the very top of the roof where the beams meet. It is lost in the darkness and the smoke. But you know the beams are there, locked together in a strong embrace, holding fast against the cold sky. You feel a quiet gratitude for the tree that gave its life to become your shelter. You push yourself away from the beam gently. Your hand leaves a faint mark in the dust on the wood, but the heat of your hand fades quickly. The beam returns to its silent, patient watch. It is ready for the night. It is ready for the frost. It has stood here through 1,000 frosts before, and it will stand through this one too. You turn your attention away from the skeleton of the house. You look at what sits between the beams. The skeleton is strong, but a skeleton is not enough to keep the wind out. You need skin. You need flesh. You look at the walls that fill the spaces between the great timbers. They are rough and humble, but they are just as important as the oak. You slide your hand off the smooth, hardwood of the beam. You move your fingers just a few inches to the side. Now, you are touching the wall itself. The feeling is completely different. The wood was cool and sleek, like a polished bone. The wall is rough. It feels gritty against your fingertips, like sand mixed with dried glue. It is bumpy and uneven. If you close your eyes and run your hand across it, it feels like a landscape of tiny hills and valleys. This wall is not made of stone. Stone is for the church that stands tall in the village centre. Stone is for the Lord's manor house on the hill. Stone is hard to cut and heavy to move. For a simple house like this, you use what is beneath your feet. You use the earth. This wall is made of mud, but it is not just a pile of dirt. It is a clever mixture called wattle and daub. You press your palm flat against the surface. It feels solid. It does not crumble. It does not shake when the wind hits the outside of the house. It is strong enough to keep a storm out, but it is made of simple things. Imagine if you could see inside this wall. Imagine you could peel back the hard outer layer. Underneath, you would not see bricks. You would see a woven fence. This is the wattle. To make the wattle, men went into the woods in the spring. They cut long, thin branches from hazel or willow trees. These trees are flexible. You can bend them without snapping them. The men brought the sticks back to the building site. They took thick, strong stakes and hammered them into the ground in a line. Then, They took the thin, bendy branches and wove them in and out of the stakes, over and under, over and under. It is just like weaving a basket, but instead of a basket to hold apples, you were weaving a wall to hold a house. This wooden weave is the hidden strength of the wall. It is flexible, so if the ground moves or the wind blows hard, the wall can bend a tiny bit without cracking. But a woven fence has holes in it. The wind would blow right through it. So, you need to cover it. You need the daub. You look at the rough surface under your hand. This is the daub. It is a mixture that has baked hard over the years. The recipe for daub is simple, but you have to get it right. You take heavy, sticky clay from the riverbank. You mix it with water and earth, but clay on its own will crack when it dries. It will fall off the wall in big chunks. So, you need something to hold it together. You need a binder. You look closely at a rough patch on the wall. You can see tiny golden threads sticking out of the dried mud. That is straw. Chopped up dried grass. It acts like tiny ropes inside the mud, holding it all together. And there is one more ingredient. It is something you might find strange today, but here, it is just common sense. Cow dung. Yes, there is cow manure mixed into the walls of your house. It sounds dirty, but it is actually brilliant. The dung is full of undigested fibers from the grass the cows ate. It is also very sticky. When you mix it with the clay, it makes the mud smooth and plastic. It makes it stick to the wooden wattle like glue. And do not worry once it dries. It does not smell. The smell fades away completely as the wool hardens, leaving only the scent of dry earth. You remember watching this wool being made. It was a summer day, long ago. The sun was hot. The ground was dry. The whole family helped. There was a big pit in the ground filled with the clay, the straw, the water, and the dung. You didn't use shovels to mix it. You used your feet. You rolled up your trousers and jumped into the pit. You stomped and danced in the wet, squelching mud. It felt cool and slimy between your toes. You stomped until your legs were tired, turning the ingredients into a thick, heavy paste. Then, you grabbed big handfuls of the mixture. You threw it onto the woven wooden fence. Splat! You pushed it deep into the gaps between the sticks. You smoothed it out with your wet hands. You built it up, layer by layer, until the wood was completely hidden. That is why the wall feels so uneven now. It was not smoothed by a machine. It was smoothed by human hands. You trace a small dip in the wall with your thumb. It is perfectly shaped like the heel of a hand. Maybe it is your father's handprint. Maybe it is your own, from when you were smaller. The wall is a record of that summer day. It is a frozen memory of the work you did together. Over the top of the dried mud, the wall is painted white. This is called lime wash. It is made from chalk that has been burned and mixed with water. The white color is very important. You look around the room. It is dark in here. There are no electric lights. There are only the embers of the fire and maybe a single candle if you are lucky. The dark mud walls would suck up all that light, making the room feel like a cave. But the white lime wash reflects the light. It catches the glow of the fire and bounces it back into the room. It makes the small space feel a little bit brighter and a little bit bigger. The lime wash also cleans the walls. It is sharp and caustic. It kills bugs and stops mold from growing on the mud. It is a layer of protection, like a clean white shirt over a dirty body. But the whitewash is old now. In the corners of the room, it is peeling away. It hangs in little flakes, like dry skin. In some places, it has rubbed off completely, revealing the brown, earthy color of the daub underneath. You make a mental note that you will need to paint it again in the spring. But for now, it must wait. You lean your shoulder against the wall. It feels cool, but not freezing. The mud is thick. It is almost as thick as your arm is long. This thickness is good. It acts as a battery for heat. During the day, When the fire is roaring and the sun is shining on the outside wall, the mud absorbs the warmth. It soaks it up slowly. Then, at night, when the fire dies down and the air turns freezing, the wall slowly releases its heat back into the room. It keeps the temperature steady. It stops the house from becoming an icebox the moment the sun goes down. However, it is not perfect. You can feel a tiny, cold breath of air touching your neck. You lean forward and squint at the wall. There, down near the floor, is a small crack. The winter air is dry, and it sucks the moisture out of the mud. As the mud dries out, it shrinks. It pulls away from the wooden beams. This little crack is the enemy. It is a doorway for the winter wind. You put your hand over the crack. You can feel the cold air streaming in. It is a thin, sharp jet of cold, piercing the warmth of the room. It feels like an invisible needle. If you leave it, that cold air will pool on the floor where you sleep. It will make your feet numb. You cannot fix the wall properly tonight. You cannot mix new mud when the ground outside is frozen solid. That is a job for warmer weather. But you can stop the draft. You look around for a scrap of old cloth or a handful of loose moss to stuff into the hole later. You must be vigilant. The house is alive, and it is always changing. It needs you to take care of it, just as it takes care of you. You step back from the wall. You look at the dark, uneven surface. It is humble. It is made of the dirt from the fields you walk on every day. It is literally a piece of the land, standing up to protect you. It surrounds you on all four sides. It creates a barrier between here and there. Out there is the wild, open night where the fox hunts and the frost kills. In here is the circle of warmth. The mud wall marks the edge of your world. The room is silent for a moment. You listen. You can hear the wind whistling outside. It sounds angry. It wants to come in. It tears at the corners of the house. But the mud holds. The woven sticks hold. The wall stands firm. You feel a sense of deep appreciation for this dirt. It is not pretty. It is lumpy and peeling, but it is thick and it is loyal. It wraps around you like a heavy blanket made of earth. You are safe inside the soil. You are hidden away in a warm, dry pocket of the world. You turn away from the wall now. You have checked the skeleton, and you have checked the skin. Now you must look up. You must check the hat that keeps the rain and the snow from falling on your head. You lift your eyes to the darkness above. You tilt your head back. You look past the dark wooden beams, up into the high, shadowy peak of the house. You are looking at the roof. From the outside, you saw that it was grey and weathered. It looked like a steep, fuzzy blanket covering the cottage. But from the inside, it looks very different. It is a golden, brown maze of textures. This is the thatch. It is strange to think that the only thing between you and the freezing sky is a layer of dry plants. It seems too simple. It seems like it should not work. But it does. In fact, it works better than tiles or slate. You stare at the bundles of material. In this part of the country, the best thatch is made from water reed. These are the tall, strong plants that grow in the marshes and wetlands. They are cut in the winter when the frost has killed the green leaves and left the hard, hollow stems behind. The stems are like drinking straws. They are hollow tubes filled with air. And air is a wonderful thing for keeping warm. Just like the wool of your coat traps air to keep you warm. These thousands of hollow reeds trap the air above your head. They create a thick blanket of insulation. The heat from your fire rises up. It hits the roof. Instead of passing straight through to the cold night, it gets caught in the reeds. It stays inside, keeping you safe. You can see how the roof was built. The reeds are not just thrown on top. They are arranged with great care. The thatcher started at the bottom, near the walls. He laid a thick bundle of reeds down. Then he laid another bundle on top, slightly higher up, then another and another. He worked his way up to the peak, layer by layer. It is just like the feathers on a bird. When it rains, the water hits the top layer. It runs down the reed, drops onto the next one, and runs down that one too. It flows all the way down to the ground without ever touching the inside of the house. A good thatch roof is completely waterproof. You could sit in here during the heaviest storm of the summer, and not a single drop would fall on your head. But tonight, there is no rain. There is only the silent weight of the cold. You look closely at a patch of the roof near the eaves, where the roof meets the wall. You can see a small piece of wood holding the reeds in place. It looks like a giant staple. This is a spar. It is a specific, clever little tool. To make a spar, you take a straight stick of hazel wood, about as long as your arm. You sharpen the ends until they are pointed. Then, you twist the middle of the stick until the wood fibers separate and become like rope. You bend the stick in half. Now you have a U shape, with a twisted, flexible loop at the top and two sharp points at the bottom. The thatcher pushed this wooden staple deep into the straw to pin it down. It holds the roof together against the wind. You can see the twisted top of the spar poking out. It looks ancient. It has been there 4 years, holding on tight. It is a tiny detail, a piece of a hazel bush from the forest, doing an important job. You look higher up, towards the very top of the roof. The details get harder to see here. The golden color of the reeds fades away. At the peak, the roof is pitch black. This is because of the smoke. Your house does not have a chimney. Chimneys are complicated. They need bricks and mortar. They are for rich people. In your house, the fire burns on the floor. The smoke rises up, hot and grey. It fills the space in the roof. It hangs there like a soft, grey cloud. It looks for a way out. Slowly, it filters through the thatch. It drifts out through the tiny gaps between the reeds. This might sound bad, but it is actually a good thing. The smoke is your friend. Just like the smoke cured the wooden beams, it cures the thatch. The soot coats the reeds. It makes them hard and waterproof. It dries them out so they don't rot. And, most importantly, the smoke keeps the animals away. Birds and insects do not like the smoke. They will not build their nests in a roof that is full of soot. The smoke preserves your roof. It makes it last for 50 years or more. You watch a small wisp of smoke curl up from the fire. It rises slowly, drifting past the beams, and disappears into the blackness above. It is peaceful to watch. It is like watching a slow-moving river of air. But the roof is not completely empty of life. If you listen very carefully, you might hear a tiny rustling sound, scritch, scratch. It is very faint. You have to hold your breath to hear it. It is a mouse, or maybe a sparrow, that has tucked itself under the eaves on the outside. You do not mind. In the winter, every living thing is looking for warmth. The heat from your house leaks out just enough to warm the bottom layer of the thatch. The mouse makes a small nest there. It sleeps in the dried grass, high above the floor. You are down here, and it is up there. You are sharing the shelter. It makes the house feel less lonely. It is a reminder that life is stubborn. Life finds a way to survive the frost. You think about the outside of the roof again. You cannot see it, but you know what it looks like right now. It is covered in white. The frost has settled heavily on the thatch. Maybe there is even a dusting of snow. You want the snow to stay there. If you walked through the village tomorrow morning, you would look at the roofs of your neighbors. If a house has no snow on the roof, it is a bad sign. It means the heat is escaping. It means the expensive warmth from the fire is leaking right out through the roof and melting the snow. That family will be cold. They are wasting their fuel. But if a house has a thick, white cap of snow on the roof, that is good. It means the thatch is working. It is holding the heat inside. The roof is cold on the outside, but warm on the inside. The snow sits there, adding another layer of insulation against the wind. You hope your roof is covered in snow. You feel sure that it is. The air in here feels contained. The heat does not rush away. It hangs around you, trapped by the clever blanket of reeds. Your neck begins to feel a little stiff from looking up for so long. The darkness in the peak of the roof is deep and endless. It is like looking into a deep well, but upside down. It is a space of shadows and secrets, where the smoke lives. You lower your head slowly. You look back down at the level of your eyes. The room feels grounded again. You have seen the structure that protects you from the sky. It is silent, heavy, and thick. It is a roof made of the marshes, bound by the woods, and hardened by the fire. It is a comforting weight. You feel enclosed. You feel buried, but in a good way. You are buried in warmth, safe from the biting wind that howls over the top of the ridge. You take a slow breath. The air down here is cleaner than the air up there in the smoke. You let your shoulders drop. You are relaxed. The house is doing its work. The beams hold. The walls block. The roof shelters. But a house is not just walls and a roof. A house needs a floor. You realize you are still standing near the door. Your feet are resting on the ground. But it is not the ground of the field. It is the floor of your home. You look down at your boots and the surface beneath them. It is time to understand what you are standing on. You look down at your feet. You wiggle your toes inside your boots. You can feel the ground pushing back against you. It feels solid and unmoving. You are standing on the floor of your home. But this is not a floor made of wooden planks. It is not made of cold stone slabs or smooth tiles. It is made of the earth itself. It is a beaten earth floor. It sounds very simple, as if you are just living on the dirt. But it is much more clever than that. This floor was made with a lot of hard work. You remember how it was made. You had to dig out the soft topsoil first. That is the soil where the grass grows, and it is too soft. You dug down until you found the hard, yellow clay underneath. Then you brought in more clay. You brought it in buckets and baskets. You dumped it onto the ground until it was thick. Then came the hard part. You had to beat it. You and your family used heavy wooden clubs with flat bottoms. You pounded the floor. Thud, thud, thud. You did this 4 hours. You did it until your arms ached and your back was sore. You hit the clay until all the air was squeezed out of it. You hit it until it was as hard as a rock. But clay on its own can get dusty. So, you added a special coating. You look closely at the surface of the floor near your boots. It has a slight shine to it, like old leather. It is dark and smooth. This is because of the finish you put on it. It is a recipe that has been used for hundreds of years. You mix soot from the fire with lime, and then you added something strange. You added animal blood. It sounds terrible to think about now, but blood is sticky. It acts like a very strong glue. When you mix bull's blood with lime and soot, it dries into a hard, waterproof shell. It seals the dirt. It stops the floor from turning into mud if you spill water. It stops the dust from rising up when you sweep. You can see the result now. The floor is not dusty dirt. It is a polished, dark surface. It looks strong. It feels like you are standing on a sheet of dark iron. You take a slow step forward. Your boot makes a dull sound on the packed earth. It is not a hollow sound, like walking on a wooden floor. It is a dead, heavy sound. It reminds you that there is no cellar underneath you. There is no crawl space. There is just the solid planet, going down and down forever. The floor is not perfectly flat, though. You can feel the shape of it through your boots. Over near the walls, the floor is higher. But here, in the middle of the room where you are walking, there is a shallow dip. It is a path. This path has been worn down by feet. Every day, you walk from the door to the fire. You walk from the fire to the sleeping corner. Over 10, 20, or 30 years, those thousands of footsteps have worn away the earth. They have carved a gentle valley into the floor. It is a map of your life. It shows where you go the most, It shows where your father walked, and his father before him. It is a memory stamped into the ground. You walk further into the room. The floor changes. It is no longer bare earth. Scattered across the floor is a layer of dry plants. These are called rushes. In the late summer, you went down to the river valley. You found the tall, green plants growing by the water's edge. You cut them down with a sickle. You carried big bundles of them back to the house and let them dry in the sun until they turned from green to a pale, golden yellow. Now, they cover the floor like a loose carpet. You step onto the rushes, rustle, crunch. The sound is satisfying. It is a dry, crisp noise. The rushes are soft under your feet. They make the hard earth feel a little bit more forgiving. They also help to keep the floor clean. If you drop a crumb of bread, it falls into the rushes. If you walking with muddy boots, the mud wipes off onto the rushes. When the rushes get too dirty or broken, you just sweep them all up. You use a Peasant broom. You have one standing in the corner. It is made of a bundle of birch twigs tied to a hazel stick. The twigs are scratchy and stiff. They scrape the floor clean. You sweep the old, dirty rushes out the door and onto the garden compost heap. Then, you spread a fresh, clean layer of gold across the floor. It makes the whole house feel new again. But the rushes do something else, too. They make the house smell good. You stop walking and take a gentle sniff. The air smells sweet. Mixed in with the river rushes are other plants. You gathered herbs from the meadow. You picked meadow sweet. It is a plant with fluffy white flowers that grows in damp fields. When it dries, it smells like honey and almonds. You also threw in some wild mint and maybe a handful of lavender, if you could find it. Every time you step on the herbs, you crush them a little bit. The pressure of your boot releases the scent. It is a natural air freshener. It covers up the smell of the smoke and the cooking. It covers up the smell of the damp wool coat you were wearing. It is a clever way to make a small, dark room feel pleasant. The floor is not just a surface to stand on. It is a garden that you have brought inside. You look down at a patch of meadow sweet near your toe. It is dry and brittle now. It has done its job well. The cold from the ground tries to come up through the floor. The earth is always cool. In the summer, this is wonderful. You can lie on the rushes and feel the coolness seeping into your back. It is better than any fan. But tonight, in the sub-zero winter, the ground is cold. It is a deep, slow cold. It is about the same temperature as a cave. It is not freezing like the air outside, but it is not warm. That is why you wear such thick boots. That is why you keep moving. You shuffle your feet through the rushes. You like the sound it makes. It is a whisper of summer in the dead of winter. It reminds you of the warm sun and the flowing river where you cut them. You think about the people in the big stone castle on the hill. They have stone floors. Stone is cold. It sucks the heat right out of your body. Or maybe they have wooden floors on the upper levels. Wood is warmer, but it creaks and drafts come up through the cracks. Your floor is honest. It is just the earth, beaten into submission, polished with blood, and dressed in flowers. It is solid. It does not creak. It does not rot. If it gets a hole in it, you just get a handful of wet clay and patch it up. It is a floor that you can fix with your own hands. You reach the center of the room. The rushes are thinner here. They have been swept away to keep them safe from the sparks. You are standing on the bare, dark clay again. You can feel the warmth now. It is radiating from the center of the room. The floor here is not cold. It is warm to the touch. The fire has been burning here 4 hours, and the heat has soaked into the hard ground. You have walked from the cold door to the warm heart of the house. The journey across the floor is short, only a few steps, but it takes you from the winter to the warmth. You pause here. You feel the connection to the ground. You are not separated from the earth by concrete or plastic. You are standing right on it. You are anchored. The wind outside can blow as hard as it likes, but it cannot move the ground. And because you are standing on the ground, it cannot move you. You feel stable. You feel rooted. The dark, polished floor holds you up. The sweet smell of the crushed herbs rises around you. You are ready to sit down. You are ready to get closer to the source of the heat. You are standing on the warm patch of the floor. The cold journey is finished. The door is locked against the winter. Now, it is time to rest your legs. You look down at a small object sitting near the fire. It is a stool. It is very simple. It is made of a round slab of wood with 3 legs sticking out of the bottom. It looks a bit like a mushroom made of oak. It has 3 legs, not 4. This is important. Remember, the floor is made of beaten earth. It is bumpy and uneven. If you had a chair with 4 legs, it would wobble. It would rock back and forth every time you moved. But a stool with 3 legs never wobbles. It always finds a way to stand firm, no matter how bumpy the ground is. It is a perfect design for a house with a dirt floor. You lower yourself down. You sit on the hard wooden seat. It is low to the ground. Your knees are bent high. You lean forward, resting your elbows on your knees. You hold your hands out towards the light. In front of you is the fire. It is the heart of the room. In fact, the word hearth comes from the word heart. It is the center of everything. Without this fire, the house is just a cold shed. With the fire, it is a home. The fire is not hidden away in a hole in the wall. It is right in the middle of the room. It sits on a large, flat circle of stones. These stones are smooth and grey. You found them in the riverbed years ago and dragged them here. They protect the earth floor from burning. You stare into the flames. They are hypnotic. They dance and twist, never staying the same shape for more than a second. At the bottom, near the wood, the flame is blue. It is a hot, angry blue. Higher up, it turns into a bright, cheerful yellow. At the very tips, it is orange, fading into grey smoke. The wood is crackling. Snap, pop. Every now and then, a spark shoots out. It lands on the dirt floor and glows like a tiny red star for a moment before it turns black and dies. You look at the wood that is burning. It is not a big, thick log from a giant tree. Big logs are hard to cut. You need a big saw and a lot of strength. Instead, you are burning faggots. This is a word that just means a bundle of sticks. To get this wood, you did not cut down a tree. You went to the hazel woods. You found a tree that had been cut before. You saw that it had grown lots of thin, straight branches from the stump. You cut these branches off. This is called coppicing. It is a clever way to farm wood. You don't kill the tree. You just give it a haircut. The branches will grow back again next year. You tied the sticks together into a tight bundle. That is what is burning now. The thin sticks catch fire easily. They burn hot and bright, holding the bundle of wood up to 2 pieces of iron. They look like little metal dogs standing on the hearthstones. In fact, that is what they are called. They are fire dogs. They are simple iron bars with feet. They lift the wood up off the stones. This lets the air flow underneath the fire. Fire needs to breathe, just like you do. If you put the wood flat on the ground, the fire would suffocate and go out. The fire dogs keep the fire alive. They are black and crusted with years of soot, but they are strong. They are one of the few metal things you own. You rub your hands together. The skin on your hands is rough and dry from the cold wind, but now you can feel the heat soaking into them. It feels like a gentle pressure. It makes your skin tingle. You turn your hands over, warming your palms, then the backs of your hands. You can feel the blood starting to flow freely again. The stiffness in your fingers melts away. You watch the smoke rising from the fire. Because the fire is in the middle of the room, the smoke goes straight up. It forms a pillar of grey cloud. It rises up past your head, up past the wooden beams, and into the roof. It wobbles a little bit as it goes up. It looks like a grey snake charming itself towards the ceiling. Most of the time, the smoke goes out through the thatch, But sometimes, when the wind blows hard outside, a puff of smoke gets pushed back down. You cough gently. The air in the room is always a little bit smoky. Your eyes sting a tiny bit. It is something you are used to. You don't even notice it most days. It is just the smell of life. It clings to your clothes. It clings to your hair. If you walked into a modern house today, people would wrinkle their noses. They would say you smell like a bonfire. But here, everyone smells like this. It is the smell of warmth. You shift your weight on the stool. You turn your body slightly. The fire is wonderful, but it has a limit. You can feel the heat roasting your face and your chest. Your front feels toasty and warm, but your back is still cold. The heat does not wrap around you. It only warms the parts it can see. There is an old saying about this: roasted on one side, frozen on the other. You can feel the cold air of the room pressing against your spine. It reminds you that the winter is still here, waiting in the shadows behind you. So, you have to keep turning. You sit for a while facing the fire. Then, you spin the stool around and let the fire warm your back. You are like a piece of meat on a spit, turning slowly to stay warm all over. You pick up a long stick that is lying on the floor next to you. This is your poker. You push the burning wood. You move a stick that has fallen off the pile back into the center. A shower of golden sparks flies up. They swirl around in the rising hot air. They look like fireflies. You stare at the glowing red coals at the bottom of the fire. They pulse with light. They get brighter when the wind blows and dimmer when it stops. They look like breathing jewels. There is something magical about staring into a fire. You can lose track of time. You can forget about the frozen mud in the fields. You can forget about the hard work you have to do tomorrow. For a few minutes, there is nothing in the world but you and the flames. The sound of the fire is a comfort. It is a steady, busy sound. The fire is working for you. It is fighting back the cold. You lean closer. You can feel the heat drying the damp wool of your coat. You can smell the wet wool steaming slightly. It is a heavy, animal smell. The room is dim. The light from the fire does not reach the corners. The corners are dark and mysterious. But here, in the circle of light, it is bright enough to see your hands. It is bright enough to see the faces of your family if they were sitting here with you. This circle of light is your safe zone. The cold, dark world is huge. It stretches 4 miles and miles outside your door. But this little circle, this 5 feet of warmth around the hearth, belongs to you. You take a deep breath of the warm, smoky air. You feel your shoulders drop another inch. The tension of the walk is gone. You are not fighting the wind anymore. You are just sitting. It is a simple pleasure. In a world where you have to work for everything, work for your food, work for your clothes, work for your heat, sitting still is a luxury. You watch a piece of wood break in half as it burns through. Crack. It falls into the ashes. The flames jump up, happy to have new wood to eat. You know that soon you will have to do more chores. You cannot sit here all night. The animals are waiting. The bed needs to be made. But for this moment, you allow yourself to stop. You allow the fire to serve you. You hold your hands out one last time, spreading your fingers wide. You capture as much heat as you can. Your palms are pink and warm now. You are ready for the next step. You are ready to put something warm inside your body, not just on the outside. You look away from the fire, towards the pot that has been sitting in the ashes, bubbling quietly to itself. You look away from the dancing flames. Your eyes move down to the dark shape sitting right in the middle of the fire. It is a round, black pot. It is made of iron, just like the fire dogs. It is heavy and thick. It has 3 little legs on the bottom, so it can stand right in the hot ashes without falling over. It has a heavy lid on top to keep the ash out of your dinner. You reach out with a thick piece of cloth in your hand. You wrap the cloth around the metal handle of the lid. The iron is scorching hot. If you touched it with your bare skin, it would burn you instantly, but the thick wall protects you. You lift the lid. A great cloud of white steam billows up. It rushes into your face. It is warm and wet. It smells wonderful. It is a savory, earthy smell. It smells of onions, cooked beans, and herbs. It is the smell of hunger being answered. You pick up a ladle. It is made of wood, darkened by years of dipping into hot liquid. You stir the contents of the pot. It is thick. It makes a heavy gloop sound as you move it around. This is not a thin, watery soup. This is pottage. Pottage is the fuel of your life. You eat it every day. Sometimes you eat it for breakfast, and sometimes for dinner. It is a thick stew made of whatever you have on hand. You look at the mixture as you stir it. You can see the ingredients. There are dried peas that have soaked up the water until they are soft and bursting. There are field beans, brown and wholesome. There are onions that have dissolved into the sauce, giving it a sweet, sharp flavor. There are chopped leeks from the garden, and there is cabbage, boiled until it is tender. There are no potatoes. You have never seen a potato. They grow in a land far away across the ocean that no one here knows about yet. Your main food is the humble bean and the pea. You take a wooden bowl from the shelf near the wall. It is a simple thing, turned from a piece of maple wood. It is smooth to the touch. It has no patterns or decorations. It is just a bowl. You ladle the hot pottage into the bowl. Slop, slop. It fills the bowl with a steaming, grey-green mound. You scrape the bottom of the pot. You are hoping for a treasure, and you find it. A small piece of bacon. It is just a scrap of salty, cured pork fat. You put it in the pot this morning to give the vegetables some flavor. Meat is expensive. You cannot afford to eat a steak or a roast chicken. Those are for the Lord in the manor. But you have a pig. You salt the meat to make it last through the winter. A tiny cube of bacon fat can make a whole pot of vegetable soup taste rich and oily. It is a treat. You sit back down on your three-legged stool. You hold the warm bowl in your hands. The wood of the bowl is thin, so the heat comes right through. It acts like a hot water bottle for your palms. It feels incredibly good. You pick up your spoon. This is a special item. It is not made of metal. It is made of horn. It was made from the horn of a cow. Someone took the horn, heated it until it was soft, and then pressed it into the shape of a spoon. It is a beautiful material. It is semi-transparent. It is the color of honey and amber. It feels very smooth against your lips, much smoother than wood. But you have to be careful. If you leave a horn spoon in boiling water, it will go soft and lose its shape. So you treat it with respect. You dip the spoon into the pottage. You lift it to your mouth. You blow on it gently. Whoosh, the steam curls away. You take the first bite. The heat explodes in your mouth. It is almost too hot, but you don't mind. You roll the food around your tongue to cool it down. It tastes earthy and salty. The peas are creamy. The cabbage is soft. The onion gives it a kick. You swallow. You can feel the hot lump of food sliding down your throat. You can feel it hit your stomach. It is like swallowing a glowing coal, but in a good way. It lights a fire inside you. For the last hour, you have been warming your skin by the fire, but your insides were still cold. Now, the heat is spreading from the center of your body outwards. It radiates from your belly to your chest, and then out to your arms and legs. It is a deep, heavy warmth. It makes you feel sleepy and safe. This pot of food is special for another reason. It is never empty. This is a perpetual stew. You do not make a new pot of soup every night. You just keep the same pot going. Tomorrow, you will add a jug of water to the leftovers. You will throw in a handful of oats and some more carrots. You will put it back on the fire. The soup changes slowly. On Monday, it might taste mostly of cabbage. By Thursday, After you have added more things, it might taste like beans. The flavor is always evolving. There are probably tiny bits of food in the bottom of that pot that have been there for a week. It is a clever way to cook. It means there is always hot food ready. It means nothing is wasted. Every scrap of vegetable, every crust of bread goes into the pot. You reach down to the floor where you have placed a small cloth bag. You open it and pull out a chunk of bread. The bread is dark and heavy. It is not like the fluffy white bread you buy in a plastic bag. This is muslin bread. It is made from a mixture of wheat and rye flour. The rye makes it dense. The crust is very hard. You have to really chew it. You tear off a piece of the crust. It is too hard to eat dry. So, you use it as a tool. You use the bread to wipe the inside of your bowl. The bread acts like a sponge. It soaks up the savory juice of the pottage. It gets soft and full of flavor. You pop the soggy bread into your mouth. It is chewy and filling. This bread sits heavy in your stomach. It will keep you full all night. You will not wake up hungry. You eat slowly. There is no rush. The wind is still howling outside, but it feels further away now. The world has shrunk down to the size of your wooden bowl. You focus on the texture of the beans. You focus on the saltiness of the bacon. These are simple things, but tonight, they feel like a feast. You look at the empty bowl. You scrape the last smear of gravy with your horn spoon. You lick the spoon clean. You do not leave a single drop. Food is too precious to waste. You set the bowl down on the floor. You lean back on your stool, balancing carefully. You place your hands on your stomach. You can feel the warmth there. The internal radiator is working. This is the most important defense against the cold. You can wear all the wool in the world, but if you do not have fuel inside you, you will get cold. The food gives your body the energy to make its own heat. It stokes your internal fire. You feel a wave of contentment. It is a physical feeling. Your muscles, which were tight and shivering from the walk, are now loose. Your eyelids feel heavy. The food has made you drowsy. The room is quiet. The only sound is the settling of the logs in the fire. Click, a piece of charcoal falls. You watch the steam rising from the big iron pot. It is still bubbling gently. It is ready for tomorrow. It is a faithful servant, bubbling away day and night to keep you fed. You think about the cold night ahead. It will be freezing. The temperature will drop well below zero, but you have a belly full of hot peas and bread. You have a store of heat locked inside you. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand. You are ready to move again. You cannot go to sleep yet. You are warm, but there are others who need to be warmed. There are members of your household who are still outside in the cold. They are waiting for you. They cannot open the door themselves. They need your help. You stand up from the stool. Your legs feel strong again. The food has done its work. You pick up a lantern from the floor. It is a simple wooden box with thin sheets of horn for windows, holding a small tallow candle inside. You light the candle from the fire. The flame catches and glows with a soft, yellow light. You turn towards the door. It is time to go back to the threshold. It is time to bring in the rest of the family. You are not just a person living in a house. You are part of a team, and the other members of the team are big, hairy, and very warm. You place the empty bowl on the floor. The hot soup has warmed you from the inside, but you still feel heavy on the outside. You are still wearing your armor against the winter. You stand up slowly. You feel the weight of your clothes pulling you down. It is time to shed the outer shell. You cannot sleep in all of this gear. It is too bulky, and it is damp from the journey. You reach for the buckle of your belt. It is a simple strip of leather, cracked from years of use. It is cinched tight around your waist to trap the heat. You pull the leather strap. It comes free. You breathe out. Your stomach expands. You instantly feel more comfortable. You coil the belt up and place it on a wooden shelf. Now, you reach for the heavy grey coat. This is the garment that saved you in the field. It is made of thick, felted wool. It is stiff and scratchy. It smells strongly of wet sheep and rain. You undo the toggle at the neck. You shrug your shoulders, letting the heavy wool slide down your arms. It falls away from you. You catch it before it hits the floor. You hold it in your hands for a moment. It feels incredibly heavy, like you are carrying a small child on your back. You shake it out, sending a few drops of water flying into the rushes. You hang the coat on a wooden peg driven into the wall near the fire. You want it to dry out tonight. As it hangs there, steam starts to rise from it gently. It looks like the ghost of the coat is floating away. Now that the heavy coat is gone, you feel light. You can move your arms freely. You roll your shoulders, enjoying the freedom. But you are not naked. Far from it. You are still wearing layers. People in your time dress like onions. You have layers upon layers to trap the air. You look down at what you are wearing now. It is a tunic. It looks like a long shirt that goes down to your knees. It is made of wool, but it is much thinner and softer than the coat. It is dyed a dull reddish brown. The dye came from the roots of a plant called madder. It is a warm, earthy color. This tunic is your daily uniform. You work in it, you eat in it, and often you sleep in it. It is loose and comfortable, but under the tunic there is one more layer. It is the most important layer of all. It is your linen. You pull at the collar of your tunic to see the white fabric underneath. This is your shirt, or your smock. It sits right against your skin. Wool is great for warmth, but it is scratchy. If you wore wool right against your bare skin for a week, you would go mad with itching. So you wear linen. Linen is a smooth, cool fabric. It is made from the stem of the flax plant. You think about how much work went into this simple white shirt. It was a long, hard process. First, the flax was grown in the field. It has pretty little blue flowers. Then, it was pulled up by the roots. It wasn't cut. It was pulled. Then, the plants were laid in a stream or a pond to rot. That sounds disgusting, but it is necessary. The water rots away the hard outer shell of the stem. This takes weeks. It smells terrible. But once the shell is gone, you are left with the long, silky fibers inside. These fibers were beaten, combed, and spun into thread. Then, the thread was woven on a loom to make cloth. The result is a fabric that feels wonderful. It is crisp and clean. It absorbs sweat. It stops the wool from rubbing you raw. Your linen shirt is the only part of your clothing that you wash regularly. You cannot wash a heavy wool coat. It would take a week to dry, and it might shrink to the size of a doll. But linen loves water. You can boil it in a pot with soap made from ash and fat. You can scrub it on a rock. You can bleach it in the sun until it is snowy white. Tonight, your linen feels a little damp from your own sweat, but standing by the fire, it is starting to dry. You can feel the fabric getting crisp again. You look down at your feet. They are still trapped in the heavy leather boots. They feel hot and swollen. You have been walking on the frozen ground for an hour. You sit back down on your three-legged stool. You lift one leg up. The boot is caked in mud. The mud is frozen now, stuck hard to the leather. There are no laces on these boots. They are just pull-on boots, but they are tight. You grab the heel with one hand and the toe with the other. You pull, grunt. It does not move. The leather has shrunk in the cold. You pull harder. You wiggle your foot. Slowly, slowly. Your heel starts to slide, pop. Your foot comes free. The relief is instant. It feels like your foot has just taken a deep breath. You wiggle your toes. They are free from the heavy leather prison. You do the same with the other boot. You place the boots near the fire, but not too close. If you put wet leather too close to the heat, it will crack and ruin. You set them just close enough so the warmth can soften the leather for the morning. Now you look at your legs. You are not wearing trousers. Trousers are for later times. You are wearing hose. These are like long stockings made of wool cloth. You have one for each leg. They go from your foot all the way up to your thigh. They are not knitted like modern socks. Knitting is a new invention and very rare. These are cut from woven cloth. This sounds like it would be baggy and uncomfortable, but the tailor was clever. He cut the cloth on the bias. That means he cut it diagonally across the weave. When you pull woven cloth diagonally, it stretches. So, your wool hose fit your legs tightly. They hug your calves and your knees. At the top, they are tied to a belt around your waist with little strings called points. You untie the points. You roll the hose down to your ankles. You rub your calves. You can see the marks where the wool was pressing against your skin. You decide to keep the hose on your feet, but you let them bunch around your ankles like warm, woolly slippers. The floor is cold, even with the rushes, and you do not want to be barefoot. You stand up again. You feel completely different now. 10 minutes ago, you were a heavy, armored traveler fighting the wind. Now, you are a lighter, softer version of yourself. You are dressed for the indoors. You are dressed for the night shift. You wiggle your toes in the soft wool of the hose. You feel the rough rushes through the fabric. It is a nice sensation. It connects you to the house. You are almost ready to sleep, but there is a gap in the room. The house feels too big. It feels too empty. You look at the empty space on the other side of the room. The floor there is not covered in rushes. It is paved with large, flat stones. There is a wooden drain set into the floor. It looks like a stable, and that is because it is a stable. Your house is not just for people. It is a long house. Humans live at one end, and animals live at the other. There is no wall between you. There is just a small dip in the floor or a low wooden partition. You look at the heavy door again. You locked it, but now you must open it one more time. You are not going out. You are inviting someone in. You can hear them outside. You hear a heavy huff of breath against the wood. You hear a hoof scuffing the frozen ground. They are waiting. They know the routine. They know that when the sun goes down, they get to come into the warm cave. You pick up the lantern again. The candle flame flickers as you move. You walk back across the room. You do not feel the cold as much now, because you know you are not going out into it. You feel a sense of responsibility. These animals are not just food. They are your partners. They pull the plow. They give the milk. And tonight, they will do something even more important. They will save your life. You reach the door. You lift the heavy wooden bar. You take a breath of the warm, smoky air in the room, preparing for the blast of cold that is about to hit you. You are about to let the biggest member of the family inside. You stand at the door with your hand on the cold iron latch. You take a deep breath. You brace yourself. You lift the latch and pull. The heavy door swings open. The wind hits you immediately. It is an invisible wall of ice. It rushes past you, trying to extinguish your lantern. The flame flickers wildly, casting crazy shadows on the mud walls. But you cup your hand around it to protect the light. In the darkness outside, you see two large, glowing orbs. They are reflecting the light of your candle. They are eyes. They are huge, dark, and liquid. They blink slowly. You step aside. A large shape moves out of the snowy night and steps into the light of the doorway. It is the family cow. She does not need to be invited. She knows exactly where she is going. This is her home too. She spends her days in the fields or the common grazing land, but every night she comes back here. She steps over the high wooden threshold. Clomp, clomp. Her hooves make a loud, hollow sound on the wooden beam. Then she steps onto the dirt floor inside. You might be picturing a modern cow. You might be thinking of a giant black and white animal that stands as tall as a man's shoulder. But this cow is different. She's a medieval cow. She is much smaller than the cows of the future. She's about the size of a large donkey or a pony. If you stood next to her, her back would only come up to your waist. She is not black and white. She is a deep, reddish brown. Her coat is thick and shaggy. In the summer, her hair is short and sleek. But now, in the winter, she has grown a heavy woolly coat to keep herself warm. She looks like a fuzzy bear with hooves. She is called Brun. It is a simple name for a brown cow. She walks past you. You have to press your back against the wall to let her through. The hallway is narrow. And even though she is small for a cow, she's still a big animal to have in your house. As she passes, you feel her presence. It is like a large, warm radiator moving past you. You can feel the heat radiating off her body. You can smell her. She smells of wet fur, sweet milk, and grassy breath. It is a strong smell, but it is not unpleasant. It is the smell of the farm. It is a comforting, heavy scent. You close the door quickly behind her. You slam the bolt home. The wind is locked out again. The room is quiet once more, except for the heavy breathing of the cow. She stands there for a moment, blinking in the firelight. Steam rises from her wet coat. She shakes her head, and her ears flap against her neck. She has short, curved horns. You have to be careful of those, but she's gentle. She's used to people. She has been handled by your family since the day she was born. She starts to walk towards her end of the house. This is the secret of the long house. It is one long room. There is no wall separating you from the animals. There is no door between the bedroom and the stable. It is all one shared space. However, there is a boundary. You look at the floor. The beaten earth floor where you stand is flat, but a few yards away, the floor slopes down. There is a shallow ditch dug across the floor, lined with stones. This is the cross drain. This drain marks the line. On the upper side is the hall, where the people live. On the lower side is the byre, where the animals live. The floor in the byre is paved with rough stones, not dirt. This is because animals are heavy. Their hooves would churn a dirt floor into mud in a single night. The stones are hard and easy to clean. Brun walks down the gentle slope. She steps over the drain. She knows her spot. She walks to the far wall where a wooden manger is built. It is a simple wooden box filled with dry hay. She lowers her head and starts to eat. Crunch, munch. You walk over to her. You push your hand on her flank. Her hair is coarse and damp with melted snow. But underneath, her skin is burning hot. Cows have a higher body temperature than humans. You are about 37 degrees Celsius. A cow is closer to 39 degrees. She's a walking furnace. You pick up a rope that is hanging from a ring in the wall. The rope is made of twisted hemp fibers. It is rough and scratchy. You clip it onto the halter she's wearing. You do not tie her up tight. You give her enough rope to lie down and stand up comfortably, but you have to tie her. You do not want her wandering over to the human side in the middle of the night and stepping on you while you sleep. She chews her hay contentedly. She does not mind being inside. In fact, she loves it. Out there, the wind would freeze her ears. In here, it is dry and calm. You stroke her neck. She leans into your hand. She's a friend. But she is also much more than that. In your time, this cow is the most valuable thing you own. She's worth more than your house. She's worth more than your clothes. If your house burned down, you could build another one with mud and sticks for free. But if the cow died, it would be a disaster. She provides milk every day. From that milk, you make cheese and butter. The cheese and butter what keep you alive in the winter when there are no fresh vegetables. Without her, you would starve. So, you do not leave her in a cold barn outside. You bring her in. You keep her close. You guard her with your own sleep. If a thief wanted to steal her, they would have to step over your sleeping body to get to her. You watch her chew. Her jaw moves side to side in a steady rhythm. It is a soothing sound. You notice something else about having her in the room. The room suddenly feels smaller. It feels fuller. Before she came in, the house felt a bit empty. The corners were dark and silent. But now, her big presence fills the space. She's a large, living object. She blocks the drafts. She absorbs the echoes. The room feels cozier, like a nest that is now fully occupied. You pat her side one last time. Thump, thump. She's solid. You check the water bucket sitting in the corner of the byre. It is full. She has hay. She's safe. You turn around and look back up the slope towards the fire. From here, in the animal end of the house, the fire looks bright and welcoming. You can see your stool, your bowl, and your drying coat. It is a strange view. You are standing in a stable, looking into a living room. But to you, it is not strange. It is just how life is. Humans and animals have lived together like this for thousands of years. It is only recently that people decided they were too good to sleep next to their food. But tonight, you are glad she is here. You can already feel the difference. The air near her is warmer than the air near the door. She's beginning to work her magic. You walk back up the slope, stepping over the drain. You leave the stone floor of the byre and step back onto the rushes of the hall. You are back in the human zone. You sit down on your stool again. You look at Brun. She has finished her first mouthful of hay and is looking around. Her big eyes catch yours. She lets out a long breath through her nose. Whoosh, a cloud of steam shoots out of her nostrils. It drifts up towards the roof. You smile. You are not alone in the dark anymore. You have a companion, and this companion is about to turn your freezing cottage into a warm, humid sanctuary. You watch her settle in. She shifts her weight. Her hooves scrape on the stones. It is a loud noise, but you don't mind. It is the sound of safety. The wind howls outside, rattling the door you just locked. But you don't care. You have your fire in front of you, and you have your beast behind you. You are sandwiched between two sources of heat. You think about the science of it. Even if you don't know the words for it, you know that soon the heat from the fire and the heat from the cow will meet in the middle of the room. They will mix together. They will fight off the frost that is trying to creep through the walls. You are ready to see just how much heat one animal can make. You are ready to feel the living heater do its job. You remain standing near the wooden partition that separates your living space from the animal space. You are just a few feet away from Brun, the cow. You close your eyes for a moment. You want to test the air. You want to see if you can feel the change without looking. And you can. On your face, you feel the dry, sharp heat coming from the fire behind you. It flickers and pulses. But on the back of your neck, coming from the stable, you feel something else. It is a steady, heavy warmth. It feels moist and thick. It pushes against you like a soft pillow. This is the power of the living heater. You turn around to face her again. She's chewing her hay, completely ignoring you. She does not know that she's a piece of technology. To her, she's just eating dinner. But to you, she's a biological stove. You think about how this works. It is simple, really. The cow eats the dry grass and the hay. Inside her giant stomach, that food is being broken down. Her stomach is like a huge fermentation tank. It is bubbling and churning. This process creates a lot of energy, and that energy turns into heat. A cow is always hotter than a human. If you touched your own forehead and then touched her skin, you would feel the difference immediately. She runs hot. She has to keep her massive body working. And she is big. Even though she is smaller than a modern cow, she still weighs as much as 6 or 7 grown men. That is a lot of body mass. Imagine if you invited 7 big men to stand in your kitchen. The room would get warm very quickly, just from their body heat. That is what is happening here. But the cow is even better than 7 men, because she doesn't talk, she doesn't argue, and she doesn't drink all your ale. She just stands there and radiates heat. You step over the drain again, moving back into her space. You want to be closer to the source. You place your hand flat on her flank, just behind her ribs. Her winter coat is thick and coarse. The hairs are stiff, like the bristles of a brush. But you push your fingers through the hair, down to the skin. It is incredibly warm. It feels like touching a hot loaf of bread just out of the oven. The heat travels up your arm. It is a deep, comforting heat. It is not like the fire, which can burn you if you get too close. This heat is safe. You could lean your whole body against her, and you would never get burned. You would just get warm. You can see the heat working. You look up at the air above her back. The air is shimmering. You have seen this on a hot road in the summer. The heat waves rise up, making the background look wobbly and blurry. The same thing is happening here, right inside your house. The heat is pouring off her back in invisible waves. It rises up towards the low roof of the stable. This rising heat is crucial. It travels up to the thatch and the beams. It creates a warm layer of air trapped under the roof. This stops the freezing cold from the sky from pushing down into the room. It is a shield made of warm air. There is another thing about this heat. It is damp. As the cow breathes, she lets out moisture. As her body radiates heat, it releases a little bit of sweat vapor. This makes the air in the cottage humid. In the summer, humidity is bad. It makes you feel sticky and hot. But in the winter, humidity is a blessing. Dry cold is harsh. It dries out your nose and your throat. It makes your skin crack. But this damp, animal warmth is gentle. It keeps your throat moist. It makes the air feel softer. It helps to hold the heat in the room longer. Water holds heat better than dry air does. So, by adding moisture to the room, the cow is actually helping the air to stay warm. You lean your shoulder gently against her hip. She shifts her weight to balance herself, but she does not move away. She is used to this. In fact, she probably likes it. You are a little warm spot for her, too. You stand there for a minute, sharing the warmth. It is a quiet moment of connection. You take care of her. You bring her hay. You break the ice on her water bucket. And in return, she keeps you from freezing. It is a fair trade. You look at the walls of the byre. They are made of the same mud and wattle as the rest of the house. But here, they are not whitewashed. They are dark and stained. You can see where the frost is trying to get in. In the far corner, near the floor, the mud looks darker. That is where the damp and the cold are seeping through, but the frost cannot get far. The heat from the cow fights it back. The invisible battle is happening right now. The frost pushes in, the cow pushes back, and for tonight, the cow is winning. You realize something else. The cow is also a windbreak. The door you came in is the main source of drafts. The wind whistles through the cracks around the frame. But the cow is standing right between the door and the rest of the room. Her big, wide body acts like a wall. The cold draft hits her thick, woolly coat and stops. It cannot get past her to reach the place where you sleep. She is a living shield against the wind. You pat her side firmly. Thud, thud. She is solid rock. You think about the people who live in the big stone castles. They have giant fireplaces, big enough to roast a whole ox. But those rooms are drafty and cold. The heat goes straight up the chimney. You have heard stories of lords and ladies shivering in their silk clothes, sitting 10 feet away from a roaring fire. You think you are better off here. Your house is small, your ceilings are low, and you have a central heating system that eats grass. In this little mud hut, you are probably warmer than the king is tonight. The cow stops chewing for a moment. She turns her head and looks at you with one big, dark eye. She lets out a low, rumbling sound. It is a deep vibration. You can feel it in your chest. It is a sound of contentment. She's full. She's warm. She's safe from the wolves and the snow. You step back from her. You do not want to disturb her too much. She needs to rest. She needs to lie down and chew her cud. That is when she makes the most heat, when she is digesting. You walk back up the slope to the human end of the house. You sit down on your stool again. The difference in the room is remarkable. 10 minutes ago, the air behind your back felt thin and cold. Now, it feels different. The heat has started to circulate. The warm air from the cow has drifted up, mixed with the warm air from the fire, and is now swirling around the whole room. The house feels stuffed. It feels full of life. It is not just a building anymore. It is a biological organism. The walls are the skin. The timbers are the bones. The fire is the heart. And the cow is the muscles generating the heat. You feel a sense of deep security. The temperature is rising. It might only be a few degrees, but in the depths of winter, those few degrees are the difference between shivering all night and sleeping soundly. But the cow is not the only animal you are inviting to the party. You look over at the dark corner near the wall. There is a small pile of straw there. It is rustling. The cow is the heavy machinery of the heating system, but there is another member of the team. He is smaller, louder, and he has a very different job to do. You hear a sharp oink from the shadows. It is time to check on the pig. You turn your head away from the large, brown shape of the cow. You look towards the other side of the room, near the wall. It is darker there. The light from the fire does not quite reach into the corner. It is a place of deep shadows, but the shadows are moving. You hear a sound, rustle, scritch, rustle. It sounds like dry leaves being kicked around. Then you hear a low, short grunt, oink. It is the pig. He's the second guest for the night. If the cow is the furnace of the house, the pig is the hot water bottle. You watch him step into the edge of the light. He's not like the pigs you see in cartoons. He is not pink. He is not round and smooth. He's a medieval pig, and he looks much more like a wild animal. He is covered in thick, dark hair. The hair is black and wiry. It stands up in a ridge along his back, which is why people sometimes call his kind a razorback. He has long legs for a pig, built for running through the woods. His nose is long and straight, ending in a flat, wet snout. He looks tough, and he is. He has to be. For most of the autumn, he was not here. He was out in the forest. You sent him there with the village swineherd. He spent his days wandering under the great oak trees and beech trees. He was looking for food. He was hunting for acorns and beech nuts that had fallen onto the forest floor. This is called pannage. It is an old right that you have. You are allowed to let your pig eat the nuts in the Lord's forest. It is a very important time of year. The nuts are full of fat. They made the pig grow big and strong. They put a thick layer of fat on his body to help him survive the winter. But now the nuts are gone. The snow covers the forest floor. So, the pig has come home. He walks with a funny, clicking trot. His little hooves tap on the stone floor of the animal bay. He walks right up to a large pile of loose straw in the corner. This is his bed, and he takes his bed very seriously. You watch him. It is fascinating to see him work. He does not just flop down and go to sleep like a dog. He has to build his nest. He pushes his long nose into the straw. He lifts his head, tossing a bunch of yellow stalks into the air. He's fluffing it up. He wants the straw to be loose and airy, not flat and hard. He walks in a circle, round and round. He tramples the center of the pile, making a little crater. Then he uses his snout like a shovel. He pushes the straw from the outside into the middle. He's building a wall of straw around himself. He's very focused. He does not look at you. He does not look at the cow. He only cares about one thing, being as warm as possible. Pigs are very smart animals, Some people say they are smarter than dogs. They hate the cold wind even more than you do, because they don't have a thick wool coat like the sheep. They have hair, but their skin is sensitive, so they have become experts at insulation. He climbs into the middle of the straw pile. He sinks down, but he is not done yet. He wiggles his body. He shimmies back and forth, digging himself deeper and deeper. Slowly, he starts to disappear. First his back legs vanish under the gold stalks, then his belly, then his shoulders. He keeps wiggling until he is completely buried. He has pulled the straw blanket right over his head. You can only see the very tip of his nose poking out, twitching slightly as he breathes the cool air. You smile. It looks incredibly cozy. He has created a little cave for himself inside the house. Inside that pile of straw, the temperature is toasty warm. His body heat is trapped in the small air pockets between the stalks. He's recycling his own warmth. You think about his job in the family. He's not like the cow. He does not give milk. He does not pull a plow. His job is to be a recycling machine. He eats everything. He eats the vegetable peelings from your pottage. He eats the whey that is left over when you make cheese. He eats the stale crusts of bread. He turns the things you cannot eat into meat that you can eat. He's a walking larder. But tonight, his job is just to sleep. You listen. The rustling has stopped. The nest is built. Now, you hear a different sound. Snore ... Whistle ... snore. It is a rhythmic, deep sound. It is a very peaceful noise. It tells you that everything is okay. If the pig was worried, he would be awake and squealing. But he is asleep. He feels safe. The presence of the pig adds a different kind of warmth to the room. The cow is a big, radiating heater. The pig is a smaller, focused point of heat. But more than that, he adds a sense of life. A house with no animals feels dead. It feels silent and lonely. But a house with a pig snoring in the corner feels alive. It feels like a community. You look at the pile of straw. It gently rises and falls with every breath he takes. It is like the floor itself is breathing. You remember the summer when he was just a tiny piglet. You could hold him in your hands. He was slippery and fast. Now, he's heavy and solid. He has grown up alongside your children. In a way, he is a pet. You scratch his ears sometimes, and he leans into it, grunting happily. But you know that he is also food. It is a hard truth of your life. You have to be practical. You respect him. You care for him. And you keep him warm. But you know his purpose. For now, though, he's just a sleeper. He's a companion in the dark. You look at the dark corner one last time. It is amazing how much heat a pig can generate. If you were to stick your hand into that straw pile, which you won't, because he might bite, it would feel hot. In the deepest, coldest nights of winter, sometimes the children will leave their bed and go sleep with the pig. They will curl up next to the straw pile. They will borrow some of his heat. He does not mind. Pigs are social. They like to pile up together. He's happy to share his warmth with anyone who is nice to him. The room is settling down now. The big animals are in place. The cow is chewing. The pig is snoring. The fire is crackling. The different sounds mix together to make a gentle, sleepy music. You feel a sense of accomplishment. You have brought the team together. You have locked the door. Everyone who needs to be inside is inside. The night shift has begun in earnest. You sit there for a moment of quiet reflection. The wind gusts outside. Hoo! It sounds lonely out there. It sounds hungry. But in here, it is crowded. The smell in the room has changed again. It is not just smoke and cow now. There is a faint, musky scent from the pig. It is an earthy smell, like wet soil and mushrooms. It is the smell of the forest floor that he brought in on his skin. It mixes with the sweet smell of the hay and the meadow sweet on the floor. It is a rich, complex smell. It is the smell of survival. You rub your eyes. You are getting tired. The heat from the fire, the food in your belly, and the sounds of the animals are all working on you. They are pulling you down towards sleep. But you have one more thing to notice before you go to bed. You have looked at the animals separately. You have seen the cow and the pig. But now, you need to look at them together. You need to see the steam. You look across the room, past the fire, to where the animals are standing and sleeping. The air around them is doing something special. It is visible. It is a sign that the living heating system is working at full power. You take a deep breath through your nose. You fill your lungs with the air of the cottage. The first thing you smell is the hay. It is a sweet, dry smell. It reminds you of hot tea or dried flowers. It is the strongest smell in the room because the cow is eating it and the pig is sleeping in it. To you, hay is not just dried grass. It is captured sunshine. You remember back to the middle of summer. The sun was hot and high in the sky. The grass in the meadow was tall and green. It was full of wildflowers, red clover, yellow buttercups, and white daisies. You and your family went out with scythes. You cut the grass down. You let it lie in the field under the baking sun 4 days. The sun dried the water out of the grass. It turned the green stalks into gold. It baked the smell of the flowers right into the stems. Then, you gathered it up and brought it inside. Now, in the dark of winter, that smell is being released. Every time the cow chews, she breaks the stalks open. She releases a tiny burst of summer air. It smells of honey and dust. It smells of the warm earth. It is a happy smell. It reminds you that winter will not last forever. The summer will come back. Mixed in with the hay is the smell of the animals themselves. It is a heavy, musky scent. It is not the sharp, bad smell of a dirty stable. It is the smell of warm fur and skin. You can smell the lanolin. This is the natural oil found in sheep's wool and animal hair. It smells greasy and rich. It is the smell of a wet dog drying by the fire, but softer. It is a waterproof smell. It tells you that the animals are healthy and their coats are strong. There is also a faint smell of milk. It is a creamy, soft scent coming from the cow. It makes you think of fresh butter and cheese. And underneath it all is the smell of the smoke. The wood smoke from the fire has soaked into everything. It is in your clothes, in the walls, and in the thatch. It acts like a wrapper, binding all the other smells together. It is sharp and woody. It tickles the back of your nose. If you walked into a modern house, it would smell of nothing. Maybe it would smell of lemon cleaner or plastic. But your house smells of living things. It smells of biology. It is a very thick smell. You feel like you could almost taste it. It wraps around you like a blanket. It makes the air feel solid. Some people might think it stinks, but to you, it smells like safety. If you were outside in the storm, the air would have no smell. It would just be cold and empty. But in here, the air is rich. It tells a story of survival. It tells you that you have food, the hay, you have heat, the smoke, and you have company, the animals. You breathe it in again. It calms you down. It triggers a deep instinct in your brain. It says, you are in the den. You are safe. You look at the pile of hay near the cow. You can see the dried heads of the clover flowers. They are brown and crispy now. You pick one up and crush it between your fingers. It crumbles into dust. A fresh wave of sweetness rises up. It is amazing to think that this dry, dead plant is keeping the cow alive, and the cow is keeping you warm. It is a perfect circle. The smell seems to get stronger as the night gets deeper. The dampness in the air carries the scent better. It fills every corner of the room. There is no escaping it, and you don't want to. You feel your eyelids getting heavy. The smell is like a sleeping potion. It is warm and intoxicating. You are done with the day. You have eaten. You have checked the animals. You have smelled the summer in the hay. Now, it is time to lay your own body down. You need to prepare your bed. It is not a soft mattress on springs, but it is the best you have. You turn away from the animal end of the house. You walk back towards the wall where your sleeping space is. There is no separate bedroom. There are no doors to close. Your bed is right here in the main room, just a few feet away from the fire. This is for warmth. You want to be as close to the heat as possible. You look at your bed. It does not look like a bed you would see in a shop today. It is a wooden box. It is a simple frame made of oak planks, raised off the ground on short, sturdy legs. Raising it up is important. The floor is cold, even with the rushes. Cold air sinks and pulls on the ground. By sleeping to feet up, you are sleeping in the warmer air. You are also safe from the drafts that sweep along the floorboards. Inside the wooden box, there is no spring mattress. There is no memory foam. There is a palliasse. This is a fancy word for a big sack. It is made of strong, rough linen or a hemp cloth. It is the size of a double mattress. You grab the corner of the sack and give it a shake. Flump. It is heavy. Inside the sack is straw. Just like the pig made his nest, you have to make yours. Over time, the straw inside gets crushed. It gets flat and hard. It turns into a solid lump that is uncomfortable to sleep on. So every night, you have to fluff it. You plunge your hands into the middle of the mattress. You grab the straw through the cloth and pull it apart. You shake the whole thing. You punch it. Thwack, thwack. You are trying to get air back inside the straw. Air is soft. Air is warm. The loud noise of you hitting the mattress makes the cow look up. She watches you with mild interest, chewing slowly. She understands what you are doing. She just did the same thing with her hooves. You work your way down the bed, pummeling the straw until it looks puffy and inviting. It looks like a giant, lumpy pillow. But straw can be prickly. The sharp stalks can poke through the cloth and scratch you while you sleep. So, on top of the straw sack, you lay a thick woolen blanket. This is your undersheet. It is soft and dense. It protects your skin from the straw. You smooth it out with your hands. You can feel the lumps of the straw underneath. It is not perfectly flat. It is like a landscape of small hills. You know where the soft spots are. You know where to put your hips and your shoulders so you can get comfortable. You check the pillows. They are just smaller sacks, also stuffed with straw or maybe feathers if you are lucky. You have been saving the soft down feathers from your geese for years to fill these pillows. They are a luxury. You give them a good punch to shape them. The bed is ready. It looks simple. It looks rustic. But to your tired eyes, it looks like the most comfortable place on earth. It is a nest, just like the pigs. It is made of the same materials: wood, cloth, and dried grass. It is organic. It breathes. You sit on the edge of the bed. The wooden frame creaks under your weight. The straw crunches softly. You look around the room one last time from your new vantage point. You are higher up now. You can see the fire glowing in the center. You can see the dark shape of the cow in the background. You can see the tools hanging on the walls. Everything is in its place. The house is ordered. You feel a wave of tiredness hit you. It is a heavy, physical exhaustion. Your muscles are tired from walking. Your brain is tired from the cold. You swing your legs up onto the bed. You do not take off your tunic. You keep your woolen hose on your feet. You need every layer you can get. Tonight, you are not sleeping alone in this bed. In your time, beds are shared. The whole family sleeps together. It is not because you are poor. It is because you are smart. A single person in a big cold bed will freeze. But 3 or 4 people in a bed create a powerhouse of heat. You are like a litter of puppies piling up. You shuffle over to make room. You imagine your family climbing in next to you. The bed is not just a place to sleep. It is a lifeboat. It is a warm island in a sea of cold air. You lie back on the lumpy straw. It conforms to your body. It holds you. You stare up at the dark thatch of the roof. You are ready to disappear into the warmth. You are ready to share the heat. You scoot over to the very edge of the mattress. You press your back against the wooden frame of the bed box. You are leaving as much space as possible in the center. You are waiting for the rest of your heating system to arrive. In the world of the future, people love their privacy. They want their own rooms. They want king-sized beds so they can roll around without touching anyone. They want space. But here, in the deep winter of the past, space is your enemy. Space is just air, and air is cold. If you sleep alone in a big bed, your body has to work very hard to heat up all the empty space around you. The cold air from the room creeps in under the blanket. It lies next to you like a ghost made of ice. You spend half the night shivering, trying to warm up the mattress. So, you do not sleep alone. You sleep in a pile. You watch as the rest of the family climbs in. It is a carefully choreographed dance. Everyone knows their spot. The smallest children go in the middle. This is the most important rule. The middle of the bed is the warmest place in the entire house. It is the tropical zone. You lift the heavy blanket, and the little ones scramble in. They are wearing their linen shirts and their woolen hose, just like you. They curl up into tight little balls. They are like hot water bottles that never go cold. Next comes your partner. They climb in next to the children. They press their body close to the little ones. Finally, there is you. You are on the outside edge. This is the guard position. You and your partner take the outer edges of the bed. You act as the walls. You keep the children safe in the middle, and you protect them from the cold air of the room. One side of your body, the side pressing against your family, is toasty warm. It feels like you are lying against a radiator, but the other side, the side facing the room, is cool. You can feel the chill of the air touching your cheek and your shoulder. You are the shield. You take the cold so they don't have to. You settle down. You wiggle your hips into the straw mattress. The bed groans under the weight of so many people. Creak. It might sound crowded to you. You might think, I would hate that. I need my personal space. But try to imagine the feeling. It is pitch black. The wind is screaming outside, sounding like it wants to tear the roof off. The temperature outside is deadly. In here, you are surrounded by warmth. You can feel the steady heartbeat of the person next to you. You can feel their breathing. You are literally wrapped in humanity. It makes you feel incredibly safe. It is a primal feeling, like a litter of wolf pups sleeping in a heap. You are a pack, and the pack survives together. There is a simple science to this. It is called thermal mass. One body generates heat. Two bodies generate more. 4 bodies generate a lot. By pressing your bodies together, you eliminate the cold air gaps. You create a single, large island of heat. The heat passes from one person to another. If your feet are cold, you put them against someone else's warm legs. If their hands are cold, they tuck them under your arm. You share the warmth. You balance each other out. Speaking of heads, you reach for one last item of clothing before you settle in completely. You pick up a small white cap from the bedside. It is made of linen. It fits tight to your head and ties under your chin. It is called a coif. You might think it looks silly. You look like a baby. But you would never sleep without it in winter. Your head is the only part of you that is sticking out of the covers. It is like a chimney. Heat rises, and it escapes right out of the top of your head. If you leave your head bare, you will lose a huge amount of body heat during the night. Your ears will get freezing cold. So, you put on the coif. It traps the heat against your scalp. It covers your ears. It keeps your hair clean. It is a simple, practical hat. You lie back. Your head, wrapped in the linen cap, rests on the straw pillow. You close your eyes. You focus on the sensations of the family bundle. There is a lot of shuffling at first. Everyone has to find their comfortable spot. An elbow pokes you in the ribs. A knee bumps your leg. Oof, move over. Someone whispers, I can't, I'm on the edge. You whisper back, but soon everyone settles. The movement stops. The breathing slows down. You can feel the heat building up under the covers. It happens fast. It is amazing how quickly the temperature rises when you are all together. It creates a microclimate inside the bed. It is probably 20 degrees warmer under the blanket than it is in the room. You notice the little details of sleeping this close. You can smell the scent of the soap your wife used to wash her hair. You can smell the milky breath of the youngest child. You can feel the vibration when someone coughs. It destroys the idea of being an individual. Tonight, you are not one person. You are part of an organism. You are a limb on a giant body. There is a moment of silence. The house is quiet now. The cow has stopped chewing. The pig has stopped rustling. The fire has died down to a low, red glow that barely lights the room. In this silence, you feel a deep sense of gratitude. You are not lonely. Loneliness is cold. In the modern world, people can be very lonely in their big, empty houses. But here, you are never truly alone. You work together in the fields all day, and you sleep together in the bed all night. You are physically connected to the people you love. You feel a small hand reach out and grab your arm in the dark. It is one of the children. They are holding on to you while they sleep. You smile in the dark. This is why you work so hard. This is why you chop the wood and plow the frozen fields. It is to keep this little bundle of people warm. You lie there, listening to the wind. It batters the walls, thud, whistle, but it cannot get you. You are insulated by mud, by straw, and by family. Your feet, which were freezing cold a few minutes ago, are starting to tingle. They are waking up. You stretch your legs out carefully, trying not to kick anyone. You find a warm spot near the bottom of the bed. It feels like heaven. The drowsiness is taking over now. The heat is making your brain slow down. The whirring of the winter is melting away. But there is one final layer to add. You are in the bed, and you are wearing your clothes, but the straw mattress and the family heat are not enough on their own. You need the heavy artillery. You need the covers. You look down at the heavy fabric that is bunched up at the bottom of the bed. You have not pulled it up yet. You are waiting for everyone to get in. Now that the pile is complete, it is time to seal the heat in. You reach down with your hand. You grab the thick, rough edge of the top blanket. It is heavy, much heavier than a modern duvet. It is time to pull the lid onto the box. You lie on the edge of the bed. Your family is packed in tight beside you. You can feel the heat starting to rise from the pile of bodies, but the air above you is still cold. It presses down on your chest. You need to put a lid on the box. You reach down towards your feet. You fumble in the dark until your fingers find the thick, rough edge of the cover. You grip it with both hands. You have to use your muscles. This is not a light, fluffy duvet filled with feathers or synthetic hollow fibers. This is a heavy, dead weight. You pull, heave, the cover slides up your body. It moves slowly, dragging over your woolen hose and your linen tunic. You pull it up over your knees, over your waist, over your chest. You tuck it right up under your chin, covering the linen cap on your head. You let out a breath. You are buried. This cover is the most important piece of cloth in the house. It is a blanket, but that word makes it sound too soft. This is a rug or a hop. It is made of wool, just like your coat, but this wool was spun thick. It was woven tight. It was beaten in water until the threads matted together to form a solid sheet. It is almost like felt. You run your hand over the top of it in the dark. It feels coarse. It is scratchy and hairy. If you rubbed your face against it, it would leave a red mark. But you don't care about softness tonight. You care about thickness. This blanket is so thick that wind cannot pass through it. If you held it up to the fire, you would not see any light coming through the weave. It is a solid wall of fabric, But one blanket is not enough for a night like this. You reach down again. You feel for the second layer. This one feels different. It feels wild. It is a sheepskin. You grab the leather side and pull it up on top of the wool blanket. It adds another layer of heaviness to the pile. This skin came from one of your own sheep. When the sheep was old and could no longer give wool, you used its meat for food and its skin for warmth. You cured the skin carefully, scraping it clean and rubbing it with fat to keep it soft. But you left the wool on the other side. You placed the skin wool side down. This is a clever trick. The woolly side of the skin is facing the blanket. The thousands of little curly hairs press against the woven cloth. They trap a layer of air between the skin and the blanket. Remember, air is warmth. By facing the wool down, you create a pocket of warm air that stays right on top of you. Now, you are under to heavy layers. The weight is significant. It pushes you down into the straw mattress. It pins your arms to your sides. It makes it hard to turn over. This heavy weight is actually a good thing. It is soothing. It feels like a giant hand is gently holding you down. It stops you from tossing and turning. It tells your muscles that they don't need to move anymore. It forces you to be still. In the future, people will buy weighted blankets to help them sleep. They will pay a lot of money to feel this sensation of being crushed by comfort. But for you, it is just normal. It is the only way to sleep. You tuck the edges of the covers in. You push the wool down between your body and the wooden side of the bed frame. You seal the gaps. You want to make an airtight seal. You do not want a single draft to sneak in and steal your heat. You lie there for a moment, adjusting to the new environment. It is dark under the covers, but it is also starting to get very warm. The heat from your body rises up. It hits the linen sheet if you are lucky enough to have one, then the heavy wool blanket, then the leather skin. It has nowhere to go, so it bounces back. It surrounds you. Within minutes, the bed becomes a furnace. You can feel the difference in the air you breathe. The air outside the covers is sharp and cold. When you inhale, your nostrils pinch a little, but the air trapped near your chest is warm. You pull your nose down, just below the rim of the blanket. You breathe in the smell of the bedding. It smells of the sheep. It smells of the herbs you scattered in the chest, where you store the blankets during the summer lavender and woodruff to keep the moths away. It smells of the wood smoke that is always in the air. It is a dusty, dry smell. It is the smell of a long winter sleep. You can feel the family settling down under the weight. The heavy covers stop the children from kicking. Everyone becomes still. The only movement is the gentle rise and fall of the blanket as you all breathe. You realize that this bed is the most expensive thing in your house, not the wooden frame, but the textiles. The wool for the blanket took a year to grow. It took weeks to spin. It took days to weave. The sheepskin was a valuable animal. These covers represent hundreds of hours of labor. They are family heirlooms. Your mother might have woven this blanket. You will leave it to your children when you die. You run your thumb along the edge of the blanket. You can feel the stitching where the hem has been turned over. It is rough and lumpy. It was sewn by hand, by firelight. You can feel the care that went into it. Outside the bed, the room is cooling down. The fire is dying. The cold is creeping across the floor. It touches the stool where you sat. It touches the empty boots. But it cannot touch you. You are inside the fortress. You wiggle your toes. They are warm now. The heat has traveled all the way down to the bottom of the bed. The wool holds the heat there. You feel a deep sense of relief. The battle for the night is won. You have built the walls, the house. You have started the engine, the fire and the animals. And now you have put on the armor, the covers. There is nothing left to do. You cannot work in the dark. You cannot fix the roof or plow the field. The night has taken away your responsibilities. You are just a body, resting in the dark, waiting for the sun. The weight of the sheepskin feels like it is anchoring you to the earth. You feel heavy. Your eyelids feel heavy. Your thoughts are slowing down. You listen to the sound of the wool rubbing against the straw as someone shifts their leg, rustle, scratch. It is a dry, quiet sound. You are safe. You are warm. You are hidden. You let your hands relax. You unclench your jaw. You let the darkness take you. But as your eyes close, your ears wake up. Now that you are blind in the dark, your hearing becomes sharp. You start to notice the sounds of the house. The silence is not actually silent. The night is full of noises. And from inside your warm cocoon, you lie there and listen to the song of the night shift. You lie perfectly still under the weight of the sheepskin. Your eyes are open, but you cannot see anything. The fire has burned down so low that it gives off no light, only a faint, dull red glow on the floor. The darkness is complete. It presses against your face like a soft black cloth. When you lose your sight, your hearing takes over. Your ears seem to grow larger. They reach out into the room, searching for information. The first thing you hear is the wind. It is outside, on the other side of the mud wall. It sounds different now that you are lying down. When you were standing up, it sounded angry. Now, it sounds distant. It is a low, moaning sound. Hoo-oo. It rises and falls like a sad song. You hear it scratching against the thatch on the roof. It sounds like long fingernails raking across the dry reeds. Scritch, scratch. It is trying to find a way in. It is searching for a hole or a gap, but the thatch is thick and the wind cannot get through. You hear it push against the heavy wooden door. The door rattles in its frame. Thud, thud. The iron latch clicks gently, but the wooden bar holds fast. The wind is frustrated. It has to go around the house. You can hear it rushing past the corners, whistling as it hits the sharp edges of the walls. This sound makes you feel good. It reminds you of the barrier. The louder the wind howls, the safer you feel inside. You are in the eye of the storm. You shift your attention to the sounds inside the room. The loudest sound comes from the byre, the animal end of the house. It is the sound of the cow. She's not sleeping yet. Cows sleep for short periods, but they spend a lot of the night awake. She's doing her job. She's chewing the cud. This is a strange habit, but a very useful one. Cows eat grass and hay quickly during the day. They swallow it almost whole. Then, later, when they are safe and resting, they bring the food back up from their stomach to chew it properly. You listen to the rhythm, slurp, crunch, grind, grind, swallow. It is a wet, heavy sound. It is very steady. It is like a slow metronome ticking in the dark. It happens every few seconds, regular as a heartbeat. Clamp. That is her jaw closing. Grind. That is her teeth moving side to side, crushing the tough stalks of hay into a paste. Gulp. That is the food going back down. Then there is a pause. Silence for 3 seconds. Then she brings up the next mouthful. Hook. And it starts again. To a stranger, this sound might be gross. It is the sound of eating and spitting. But to you, it is the most comforting sound in the world. It means the cow is healthy. A sick cow does not chew her cud. If the barn was silent, you would be worried. You would have to get up and check on her. But the sound of chewing means she is happy. She is warm. Her stomach is working. It is a lullaby. The steady rhythm helps you drift off. It is a slow, biological clock ticking away the long hours of the winter night. Underneath the sound of the cow, there is a different noise. It is higher pitched. Wee-oh-oh-oh. Wee-oh-oh-oh. It is the pig. He is fast asleep in his straw nest. He is snoring. His snore is not like a human snore. It is more like a whistle. It comes from his wet, round nose. It is a funny, bubbly sound. Sometimes he twitches in his sleep, and the straw rustles around him. Crackle, rustle, Maybe he's dreaming of acorns. Maybe he's dreaming of a warm summer mud puddle. The pig's snore adds a melody to the cow's rhythm. They are a little night orchestra. Then, there are the sounds of the house itself. You might think a house is a dead object, made of wood and mud, but at night, the house comes alive. It talks. The temperature is dropping outside. The wood in the heavy oak beams is getting colder. As wood gets cold, it shrinks. The fibers contract. This creates tension inside the timber. Suddenly, from high up in the roof crack, it is a loud, sharp noise, like a pistol shot. It makes you jump a little under the covers, but then you relax. You know what it is. It is just a frost crack. It is the sound of the oak tree adjusting to the winter. It echoes through the room and fades away. Then, you hear a lower sound grow on. That is the main cruck from settling. The heavy roof is weighing down on the beams. The house is shifting its weight, just like you shift your hips in the bed. It is getting comfortable for the night. These sounds tell you that the house is standing strong. It is fighting the elements. It is taking the strain so you don't have to. You listen closer, trying to hear the smallest sounds. Up in the thatch, above the beams, there is a tiny world of activity. Scrabble, scritch, patter. It sounds like tiny raindrops falling. But it is not rain, it is mice. They are running through the tunnels they have made in the reeds. They are warm up there. The heat from the fire and the animals rises up and gets trapped in the roof, making it a cozy playground for them. You can hear them chasing each other. You hear a tiny squeak. You do not mind them. As long as they don't eat your grain sack, they are welcome to the roof. They are just another family trying to survive the night. Their tiny feet make a gentle, scratching noise that blends into the background. Finally, you listen to the sounds right next to your ear. You can hear the breathing of your family. Your partner is breathing deeply and slowly. In ... out. It is a calm, heavy breath. It touches your shoulder. You can feel the warm air hitting your skin through the fabric of your tunic. The children breathe faster. Their breaths are light and shallow. Huff, huff, huff. Sometimes, one of them murmurs a little word in their sleep, or smacks their lips. This is the sound of life. It is the sound of the night shift. In the modern world, silence is rare. Even at night, you hear the hum of the refrigerator. You hear a car driving by on the road. You hear the whir of a computer fan. There is always a background hum of electricity. But here, there is no electricity. There is no machine noise. When the wind dies down, the silence is deep and heavy. It is a thick silence. It feels like you are underwater. In this deep silence, every small sound becomes important. The chewing of the cow sounds loud. The rustle of a mouse sounds like an event. You lie there and let the sounds wash over you. You are part of the soundscape. Your own breathing joins the chorus. You breathe in time with the house. You think about the silence outside. Out in the fields, it is deadly quiet. The snow absorbs sound. If you shouted, your voice would just disappear into the grey air. There is no life out there tonight. But in here, it is noisy with life. Crunch, grind, swallow. The cow continues. We oh. The pig continues. Crack. The beam continues. Half. The family continues. It is a chaotic, messy, animal sound. But to you, it is perfect. It is the sound of success. It means you have made it through another day. It means the system works. You feel a sense of peace settle over you. Your ears stop searching for danger. There are no wolves howling. There are no robbers trying the door. There is only the farm, sleeping and eating and breathing. The darkness is no longer scary. It is filled with friendly noises. You can map out the room just by listening. You know exactly where the cow is. You know exactly where the pig is. You are connected to them by the invisible threads of sound. Your brain begins to switch off. The sounds start to blur together. The cow's chewing becomes a drum beat in a dream. The wind becomes the sound of the sea. You are drifting. The heavy covers hold you down. The warm air fills your nose. The sounds cradle you. You are safe in the noise of the night. You are ready to go deeper into the real sleep, the deep sleep that will recharge you for the hard work of tomorrow. But even as you drift off, a part of you stays awake. A tiny part of your brain is still listening. It is listening for the fire. It is listening to the last embers as they fade away. You need to know that the heat is still there, glowing in the heart of the room. You open one eye. The heavy sheepskin is covering your face, so you push it down just an inch. You want to take one last look at the room before you sleep completely. The room has changed. When you first sat down to eat your pottage, the room was filled with dancing yellow light. The flames were tall and active. They licked the bottom of the iron pot and cast sharp, jumping shadows on the walls. But now, the flames are gone. The yellow light has vanished. In its place, there is a deep, dark red glow. You look at the center of the room. The fire has burned down. The sticks of hazel and the logs of oak have turned into charcoal. They have crumbled into a heap of glowing embers. It looks like a pile of jewels. It looks like a dragon's eye, blinking in the dark. The light is very weak. It does not reach the walls anymore. It does not reach the roof. It stays low to the ground. It lights up the stones of the hearth. It lights up the legs of your stool. It casts a soft, red light on the nose of the sleeping pig. Everything else is black. The corners of the room have disappeared. The cow is just a dark shape in the gloom. You watch the embers. They are not still. They are pulsing. When a tiny draft of air sweeps across the floor, the oxygen hits the coals. Whoosh, they glow brighter. They turn a hot, bright orange for a second. Then, as the draft passes, they fade back to a deep, sleepy crimson. It looks like the fire is breathing. In, out, bright, dim. It is breathing in time with you. It is breathing in time with the cow. You did something important to the fire before you got into bed. You did not just let it burn out. You banked it. Banking the fire is a skill. You took the shovel, and you scooped up the grey, dead ash from the edge of the hearth. You piled this ash on top of the glowing red coals. You buried the fire. This sounds like it would put the fire out, but it does the opposite. The thick layer of ash acts like a blanket. It traps the heat inside the coals. It stops them from burning too fast. It forces them to smolder slowly, all night long. If you left the fire open, the wood would burn away in an hour. You would wake up to a cold, dead pile of white dust, and in the morning, you would have to start the fire all over again with flint and steel and dry tinder. That takes a long time, and your hands would be freezing. But because you banked it, the fire will sleep. It will hibernate under the grey ash. In the morning, when you wake up, you will take the poker. You will break the crust of ash, and underneath, you will find a hot, glowing red heart. You will throw on some dry straw, blow on it once, and poof, the fire will roar back to life instantly. You are saving the fire for tomorrow. You are keeping the seed of warmth alive. You think about the bell that rang in the village earlier this evening. It is a large iron bell that hangs in the church tower. Every night, at sunset, the priest rings it. Clang, clang, clang. This is the curfew bell. Today, people think curfew means you have to be home by a certain time. But the word comes from the French words couvre-feu. It literally means cover fire. When that bell rings, it is a signal to every house in the village. It is the law. You must cover your fire. You must bank the coals. This is for safety. A wooden house with a straw roof is a fire trap. If you went to sleep with a big, roaring flame leaping up towards the thatch, a single spark could burn the whole village down. So, the bell reminds you, calm the fire down, make it safe. Go to sleep. You look at the red glow. It feels safe now. It is low and contained. It is not trying to escape. The heat coming from the hearth has changed too. Earlier, it was a sharp, stinging heat. It dried your eyes. Now, it is a radiant heat. The big stones under the fire have been soaking up the heat for hours. They are hot rocks. Now, they are slowly releasing that heat back into the room. It is a gentle, invisible wave of warmth. It does not travel far, but it keeps the air in the center of the room from freezing. You watch a small piece of wood settle in the ash. Click. A tiny fountain of sparks shoots up. They look like gold dust. They float up into the dark and vanish before they hit the floor. The light is so low that your eyes are playing tricks on you. The shadows seem to move. The coat hanging on the walls like a person standing there. The butter churn in the corner looks like a goblin, but you are not afraid. You know this room. You know every stick and every stone. The red light is soothing. It is the color of sunset. It is the color of blood. It is a warm color. It makes you feel sleepy just looking at it. You realize that this is the oldest TV in the world. For thousands of years, people have lain in bed and watched the embers fade. Your ancestors did this in caves. Your grandchildren will do this in this very house. It is a moment of connection. You are watching the same show they all watched. The fire is the last thing to stay awake. The cow is asleep. The pig is asleep. The children are asleep. Even you are drifting off. But the fire keeps watch. It glows with a steady, unblinking red eye. It guards the house against the cold. You pull the sheepskin back up over your nose. You hide your face from the faint light. You are ready for total darkness. The red glow stays in your mind even when your eyes are closed. You can still see it. It is a warm spot in your memory. You think about the cold world outside. The sun has gone. The moon is cold. The stars are like ice. There is no heat out there. All the heat in the world is right here, trapped in this pile of grey ash. It is a precious thing. It is a captive star that you keep in your living room. You feel a sense of responsibility. You have fed the fire. You have dressed it in ash for bed. You have treated it with respect. And in return, it will be there for you in the morning. The light in the room gets dimmer. The red turns to a dull purple. The ash is taking over. The fire is tucking itself in. You let out a long sigh. The visual show is over. The red light is fading into the black. The room is now officially in the night shift. It is time for the darkness to do its work. You turn your head on the pillow. The straw rustles. You face away from the hearth, towards the wall. You are turning your back on the light. You are turning towards the cold wall, but you are not afraid. You have your layers. You close your eyes for the last time. The image of the glowing coals fades. You are left with the feeling of the heavy blankets and the sound of the breathing. But as you drift deeper, your mind wanders. You think about what is happening on the other side of the wall. You think about the enemy that is pressing against the mud. You think about the ice. Your eyes are closed now. The red glow of the fire has faded from your mind. You are warm, buried deep under the wool and the sheepskin. But your thoughts drift away from the bed. They drift through the mud wall, out into the night. You imagine the world outside. It is a world of ice. The sun went down hours ago. Since then, the temperature has been dropping like a stone. It is now deep into the sub-zero zone. You think about the water barrel standing by the door outside. Earlier, the water was liquid. Now, it is changing. The cold air touches the surface of the water. It steals the heat away. Crystals of ice are forming. They look like sharp, white needles. They grow across the black water, locking together. Click, click. They form a solid lid of ice. By morning, the water in that barrel will be a solid block. If you hit it with a hammer, it would ring like a bell. You think about the mud in the yard. It was squelchy and soft this afternoon. Now, The water inside the mud is freezing. As water freezes, it expands. It pushes the dirt apart. The ground is heaving up. It is becoming hard as iron. If you walked on it now, your boots would not leave a mark. You think about the trees in the forest. The sap inside the trees has stopped moving. It has sunk down into the roots to hide. The branches are brittle. If a strong wind hits them, they might snap, crack. Everything out there is paused. Everything is waiting. The cold is not just a lack of heat. It feels like a living thing. It feels like a predator. It is hunting for warmth. It moves across the fields. It flows like water, sinking into the lowest places. It fills the valleys with freezing mist. It creeps up to your house. It touches the walls. It feels the heat leaking out through the mud. It tries to get in. It pushes against the door. It probes the gaps in the window shutters. It is looking for a weakness. You can almost feel it pressing against the house. It is a heavy, silent weight. It wants to turn your warm, breathing home into a frozen tomb. But it cannot get in. You think about your defenses. You have the thick mud walls. You have the layer of air trapped in the thatch. You have the heat of the fire banked in the ash. You have the massive body of the cow radiating heat like a stove. You have the pig in his nest. You have the heavy wool blankets. You have built a fortress against the ice. Inside your bed, you are a tiny tropical island. The air next to your skin is hot. It is humid. It is the opposite of the world outside. You think about the animals that are not inside. You think about the wild birds. They are huddled deep in the ivy bushes, puffed up like little balls to keep warm. You think about the foxes and the badgers, deep in their holes underground. Everyone is doing the same thing. Everyone is hiding from the ice. You feel a strange respect for the winter. It is powerful. It kills the weak. It tests the strong. It strips the world down to the bone. It is honest. In the summer, the world is easy. Food grows everywhere. The sun warms you for free. But in the winter, you have to earn your life. You have to fight for every degree of heat. And you are winning. You wiggle your toes deep under the covers. They are toasty warm. You have stolen this warmth from the world. You have created it with your work and your planning. The thought of the cold outside actually makes you feel warmer inside. It is the contrast that matters. If it was warm outside, this bed would just be a bed. But because it is freezing outside, this bed is a paradise. You snuggle deeper into the straw mattress. You pull the family closer. You are defying the winter. You are cheating the frost. You think about the window shutter. It is just a piece of wood. On one side, the wood is warm and smells of smoke. On the other side, the wood is covered in white frost crystals. The frost looks like beautiful, deadly ferns growing on the timber. That 1 inch of wood is the difference between life and death. You are glad you are on this side of the wood. The wind moans again. It sounds disappointed. It cannot find you. You are hidden too well. You let your mind drift further out. You imagine the whole village. 20 little houses, just like yours. 20 little mounds of snow with smoke drifting from the tops. 20 families huddled together in the dark. From high up in the sky, the village would look like a cluster of tiny, warm stars in a vast, black ocean of cold. You are all in this together. You are all fighting the same silent war against the ice. And tonight, you are all winning. You feel a sense of calm power. The cold is strong, but you are smarter. You have tools. You have fire. You have wool. You have each other. The ice can wait. The ice can push. But it will not get you tonight. You relax your muscles completely. You let the image of the frozen world fade away. You pull your thoughts back inside the house, back inside the bed. You focus on the warmth. But just as you are about to let go, you feel something. A tiny, sharp feeling. It is on your nose. It is a cold draft. Despite all your work, despite the mud and the wool, the enemy has found a way in. A tiny stream of freezing air is cutting through the room. It is hitting your face. It is annoying. It is a reminder that the war is never fully won. You have to fix it. You lie there in the dark. You try to ignore it. You tell yourself it is just your imagination. But it is not. There is a thin, cold finger of air touching your face. It is coming from the wall right behind your head. It is a draft. In the summer, a draft is nice. It is a gentle breeze that cools you down. But tonight, a draft is a weapon. It is a jet of freezing air that has traveled all the way from the snowy fields to your pillow. It cuts right through the warm pocket of air you have worked so hard to build. It hits the tip of your nose. It makes your skin tingle. It tickles your ear. You pull the sheepskin up higher. You bury your nose. But the cold air finds a way. It slides down your neck. It feels like someone is pouring a teaspoon of ice water onto your skin. You know you cannot sleep like this. If you leave it, the cold will keep flowing. It will cool down the wall. It will cool down the straw pillow. Eventually, it will cool down you. You'll wake up with a stiff neck and a headache. You have to fix it. You let out a small groan. You do not want to move. Your body is heavy and warm. The bed is perfect. Moving means breaking the seal of the covers. It means letting the cold room air touch your arm. But you have no choice. The draft is the enemy. You must kill it. You slowly slide one arm out from under the heavy covers. The air in the room bites your skin immediately. It feels shocking. You grit your teeth. You have to be fast. You reach out into the darkness. You feel along the wall behind your head. Your fingers brush against the rough, bumpy surface of the whitewashed mud. You move your hands slowly, hunting for the cold spot. There it is. Your finger finds a crack. It is small, maybe only as wide as a coin, but the air is rushing through it with force. The mud has shrunk in the dry cold, pulling away from the wooden beam. It has opened a tiny door for the winter. You keep your finger over the hole for a second. You have stopped the flow, but you cannot sleep with your finger stuck in the wall all night. You need a plug. You know exactly what to do. You are prepared for this. You reach down to the floor, just under the head of the bed frame. You fumble around until your hand touches a rough, woven basket. You keep this basket here for exactly this reason. You dip your hand inside. You feel something soft and dry and crinkly. It is moss. This is not just any green slime you scraped off a rock. This is bog moss, or sphagnum. You gathered this in the autumn. You went down to the wet, marshy ground near the river. You pulled up big handfuls of the wet, green sponge. You brought it home and let it dry by the fire 4 days. When this moss dries, it changes. It stops being slime and starts being a miracle material. It becomes light and airy. It is full of tiny little pockets. It is springy. If you squeeze it, it bounces back. It is the perfect natural insulation. It is better than cloth because it doesn't rot easily. It is better than mud because it is flexible. If the wall moves again, the moss will expand to fill the gap. It is nature's own gap filler. You grab a good pinch of the dry moss. It feels scratchy in your fingers. It weighs almost nothing. You bring your hand back to the wall. You find the crack again. You push the ball of moss into the hole. It is a tight fit. You have to use your thumb. You push hard. Crunch. The dry moss compresses. You wedge it deep into the crack. You twist it a little to make sure it catches on the rough edges of the mud. You can feel the difference immediately. The jet of cold air stops. But you are not done. You want to be sure. You take another pinch of moss. You push it in on top of the first one. You pack it tight. You are like a dentist filling a tooth. You are sealing the wound in the house. You run your hand over the spot. It feels rough where the moss is sticking out, but it feels dead. There is no air moving. The wind outside is still pushing, but the plug is holding it back. The moss has swollen up to block the path. You wipe your hand on the side of the bed to get rid of the moss dust. You pull your freezing arm back under the covers. You shiver once. Brr. That brief exposure to the room was nasty. Your arm feels like a block of ice pressing against your ribs, but you know it will warm up quickly. You tuck the sheepskin back around your neck. You pull it tight. You wait. You wait for your arm to thaw. You wait for the heat of the bed to take over again. And you wait to see if the draft is truly gone. You lie still. You focus on your nose. You focus on your ear. Nothing. The air is still. The sharp, stinging feeling is gone. The warmth of the bed is no longer leaking out. The integrity of the fortress has been restored. You feel a deep sense of satisfaction. It was a small job, but an important one. You have fixed your house without even getting out of bed. You have used the simple things, the mud, the moss, and your own hands to solve the problem. This is what life is like in the night shift. It is a constant game of maintenance. The house is not a machine that you turn on and forget. It is a living thing that needs attention. It cracks, it shifts, it breathes, and you have to be there to patch it up. You think about the moss again. It is such a humble thing. You walk on it without thinking. But here, in the dark, it is saving you. It is plugging the gap between the freezing world and your warm family. You snuggle down deeper. Your arm is starting to tingle as the blood rushes back into it. The warmth is spreading. You listen to the wind outside. It sounds frustrated again. It found a way in, but you blocked it. You have won this round. The silence in the room seems deeper now that the hiss of the draft is gone. The peace returns. You think about the other gaps in the house. There are probably hundreds of tiny cracks in the walls and the roof, but most of them are too small to matter, or they are high up in the dark where the smoke hangs. The smoke helps too. The soot from the fire is sticky. Over time, it floats up and settles in the cracks in the thatch. It acts like a glue, sealing the small holes from the inside. The house is slowly sealing itself with its own smoke, but down here, near the floor, it is up to you. You are the guardian of the gaps. You feel your eyelids drooping. The little burst of adrenaline from the cold is fading. The heavy sleep is coming back. You are comfortable now, truly comfortable. There is no cold spot on your pillow. There is no breeze on your neck. There is only the thick, heavy heat of the wool and the bodies. You take a deep breath of the warm air. It is stale and musky, but it is warm. You wonder if the moss will stay there all winter. Probably. In the spring, when you do your spring cleaning, you might pull it out and patch the hole properly with fresh clay. Or maybe the birds will steal it to build their nests. But for tonight, it is doing its job. You shift your legs, finding a cool spot in the straw mattress that has now become warm. You are ready to surrender. You are ready to let go of the waking world completely. The darkness wraps around you. The house holds you. The moss plugs the hole. The cow chews. The pig snores. The fire glows. You drift. You float. You sink. You are no longer a person in a bed. You are just a warm heartbeat in the dark. And now, finally, you enter the deepest part of the night. The time when the world stops moving. The time when the sun is furthest away. You are entering the dead of night. You are floating. You are drifting on a dark, warm sea. There is no time here. There is no up and no down. There is only the warmth. Slowly, you rise up towards the surface. Your mind starts to switch on. Your eyes open. You are awake, but you do not see anything. The darkness is absolute. It is heavy and thick. You blink your eyes, but it makes no difference. The room looks exactly the same, whether your eyes are open or closed. It is a wall of black. In the world of the future, there is never true darkness. There is always a street light outside, or the little glowing light of a clock, or the moon shining through thin curtains. But here, the shutters are closed tight. The fire has buried itself deep under the ash. The soot in the thatch blocks out the stars. This is pitch black. It is dark like the inside of a sealed box. You lie perfectly still. You do not feel panic. You do not wonder why you are awake. You know exactly what this is. This is the time between the sleeps. In your time, people do not sleep in one long block of 8 hours. That is a modern habit. Here, you sleep into pieces. You have the first sleep, which starts soon after the sun goes down. It is a deep, heavy sleep where your body recovers from the hard work of the day. Then, around midnight, you wake up. It is a natural pause. The whole village is awake right now, lying in their dark beds. The Lord in his castle is awake. The priest in the church is awake. It is a secret hour where the world belongs to the thinkers. You feel rested. The heavy exhaustion of the evening is gone. Your muscles feel loose and warm. You are just lying there, existing in the dark. This quiet time is special. It is the only time in your life when you are truly doing nothing. During the day, you are working. During the evening, you are fixing tools or cooking. But now, in the gap between sleeps, you are free. You listen to the house. It has changed since you fell asleep. The wind has died down. The storm has passed or paused. The roaring and the howling outside have stopped. The silence is profound. It feels as if the house has been lifted up and placed on a cloud. The animals are in a deep sleep now. The cow has stopped chewing her cud. She's resting her chin on the straw. Her breathing is so slow you barely hear it. The pig is silent. The mice in the roof have gone to bed. It is the dead of night. You feel the heat of the bed. It has built up over the last few hours. The space under the sheepskin is tropical. It is humid and hot. You can feel a tiny bead of sweat on your chest. You push the covers down just a fraction of an inch to let a tiny bit of cool air in. It feels delicious. You think about the time. You have no watch on your wrist. There is no clock on the wall ticking away the seconds. You do not measure time in minutes or hours. You measure it by how it feels. You know it is past midnight because the air has a certain stillness. It is the Wolf hour. This is the time of night when the night watchman on the town walls is coldest. It is the time when the sick people in the village feel the weakest. It is the deepest part of the valley of the night. But you are safe. You are warm. You use this time to think. You think about the work you have to do tomorrow. You need to mend the fence in the lower field. You need to check the store of grain to make sure the rats haven't got into it. You think about the spring that is coming. It feels far away, but you know the sun will come back. Many people use this time to pray. In the dark, God feels closer. There are no distractions. It is just you and your thoughts. You might whisper a small prayer for a good harvest, or for the health of your cow. You roll onto your back. The straw mattress crunches softly. The sound is loud in the silence. You stare up into the invisible roof. You know the beams are there, crossing like giant arms, holding up the thatch. You know the smoke is drifting up there, hanging like a black cloud. You feel a deep connection to the house. It is a shell. It is like a snail shell that you have grown around yourself. It is made of the mud from your boots and the trees from your woods. It is part of you. In this total darkness, your sense of touch becomes a superpower. You can feel the texture of the linen sheet against your chin. It has a rough, knobbly weave. You can feel the scratchy wool of the blanket. You can feel the smooth, oily softness of the sheepskin on top. You can feel the warmth of your partner next to you. They are sleeping deeply. They are still in their first sleep. You match your breathing to theirs. In ... out. You wonder if anyone else is awake in the bed. Maybe one of the children is lying there with their eyes open, listening to the silence just like you. But you do not speak. You do not break the spell. This is a private time. You reach out your hand in the dark. You touch the wooden frame of the bed. It feels smooth and polished. Your grandfather built this bed. His hands smoothed this wood. Now your hand touches it. The darkness connects the past and the present. You think about the fire. Is it still there? You turn your head. You strain your eyes. You look towards the hearth. At first, you see nothing. It is just a black hole. But then, as you stare, you see it. A tiny, faint red line. It is the light escaping from under the ash. It is very dim, weaker than a firefly. But it is there. The heart is still beating. The spark is still alive. It is waiting for you to wake it up in the morning. That tiny red line is the only color in your world right now. Everything else is black and gray. You feel a wave of drowsiness returning. The second sleep is coming to get you. The second sleep is different from the first. The first sleep is heavy and black. The second sleep is lighter. It is full of dreams. It is the sleep that takes you through to the dawn. You are ready for it. You have had your time of quiet. You have done your thinking. Now, you need to rest for the morning. You snuggle down. You pull the sheepskin back up to your nose. You trap the heat again. You let your mind drift. You stop thinking about the fence and the grain. You let your thoughts become loose and slippery. You imagine the sun rising. You imagine the green grass. You imagine the heat of the summer. The darkness seems to get softer. It stops being a wall and starts being a blanket. It wraps you up. You feel heavy again. Your arms sink into the straw. Your legs feel like they belong to the bed. The silence is no longer empty. It is a heavy, comforting presence. It is a silence that protects you. It hides you from the world. You take a deep breath of the thick, smoky air. It fills your lungs with warmth. You are drifting away. You are sinking back down into the warm sea. The waking world is fading. The Wolf hour is passing. You are safe in the hut. You are safe in the dark. You close your eyes, even though it makes no difference. You let go. And just like that, you are gone again. You slip seamlessly from the waking dark into the sleeping dark. The house holds you. The night continues. Hours pass. The world turns. The stars wheel overhead, unseen above the thatch. The frost deepens outside, gripping the land in a vice of ice. But inside, time flows differently. It flows in the slow rhythm of breath and blood. Eventually, the deep blackness begins to change. It is not a sudden change. It is a slow, creeping shift. The dead of night is over. The world is starting to turn towards the light. But before the light comes, there is sound. The morning does not start with the sun. It starts with the animals. They know before you do. They feel the morning coming in their bones. You are still deep in your second sleep, dreaming of warm fields, when the first sign of the new day arrives. It is a small sound, but in the quiet cabin, it is enough to start the process of waking up. You are pulled out of your dream. It is not a sudden shock. It is not a loud bell ringing in your ear. It is a gentle tug. Something has changed in the room. You lie still under the heavy sheepskin. Your body is still loose and warm. Your mind is still half asleep. You try to figure out what woke you up. Then, you hear it again. Scrape, thump. It is a heavy sound. It vibrates through the wooden legs of the bed. It travels up through the straw mattress and into your spine. It is the cow. She has decided that the night is over. 4 hours, she has been lying down, chewing her cud and acting as a heater. But now, she's bored. She's stiff. She wants to stretch. You listen as she struggles to her feet. Heave. You hear her knees crack, pop. Then, clomp, clomp. Her heavy hooves hit the stone floor of the byre. She shakes her body, flap, flap, flap. Her loose skin and her thick winter coat slap against her ribs. She's shaking off the sleep. She's shaking off the dust of the hay. This is the first alarm clock of history. It does not have a snooze button. When a 600-pound animal decides, it is morning. It is morning. You open your eyes. It is not bright yet. The room is filled with a strange, milky grey light. It is not sunlight. It is the very first hint of the dawn leaking in through the cracks in the shutters and the gaps in the thatch. It is a ghostly light. It barely reveals the shapes of the room. You can see the outline of the beams. You can see the dark lump of the table. The air in the room feels different too. It feels thin. It feels sharp. This is the coldest moment of the entire 24 hours. The sun has been gone for a long time. The earth has lost all its heat. The frost outside is at its thickest. The fire in the hearth is at its lowest. You can feel the cold waiting for you. It is hovering just above the blanket. If you stick your nose out, it feels like you are touching an icicle. You hear another sound from the corner. Snort, shuffle. The pig is awake. He hears the cow moving, so he knows it is time to move too. He pushes his way out of his straw nest. You hear the rustle of the dry stalks as he kicks them away. He stands up and shakes himself, just like the cow. Rattle. His bristles are stiff. He walks across the stone floor. His little hooves make a sharp tap 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 sound, very different from the dull thud of the cow. He grunts. It is a complaining sound. He's saying that he is hungry. He wants his breakfast. He wants to know why you are still in bed. Then, you hear a sound from high up, near the roof. Cluck, cluck. Oh. It is a muffled, strangled sound. It comes from a wicker basket hanging from a beam. You have chickens inside the house too. You do not leave them outside for the foxes to eat. You bring the best layers inside and keep them in a basket or a coop near the warmth. The rooster is in there. He knows the sun is coming, even though he cannot see it. He's trying to crow, but he is cramped in the basket and he is still sleepy. It is a lazy crow. It is not the loud, piercing scream that wakes the dead. It is just a little announcement. Morning is here. You lie there and listen to the barn coming alive. It is a busy sound. It is the sound of animals stretching, scratching, and sniffing. For a moment, you feel a strong desire to stay where you are. The bed is perfect. After hours of sleeping, the heat under the covers is intense. The straw has molded to the shape of your body. You are in a warm, soft cocoon. The idea of leaving this cocoon and stepping onto the cold dirt floor seems crazy. You look at your family. They are still asleep. The children are buried deep. You can only see the tops of their linen caps. Your partner is breathing softly. You are the first one awake. This is your burden. You are the fire starter. You are the door opener. If you stay in bed, the animals will get restless. The cow might start mooing loudly. The pig might start rooting around in things he shouldn't touch. And the fire might go out completely. You have to get up. You take a deep breath. You prepare yourself. It is a mental battle. You have to convince your muscles to move. You slide your hand out from under the sheepskin. The air hits your fingers. It bites. It is much colder than it was when you went to bed. The house has slowly lost heat all night. It is still warmer than the outside, but only just. You verify that the fire is still alive. You lift your head and look at the hearth. The red glow is almost gone. There is just a pile of grey ash, but you can see a tiny, faint shimmer of heat rising from it. The heart is still there, but it is weak. It needs you. The cow lets out a long, low moo. Moo-oh-oh. It is not loud, but it is demanding. She is thirsty. She has been eating dry hay all night. She wants water. That is the signal. You cannot ignore her. You throw the heavy sheepskin back. Whoosh. The cold air rushes in. It hits your warm body like a bucket of water. You gasp. Ha! You sit up quickly. You do not give yourself time to regret it. You swing your legs over the side of the bed box. Your feet search for the floor. Your woolen hose are still on your feet, which is good, but the rushes on the floor are freezing. You stand up. The blood rushes to your head. You feel a little dizzy for a second. You wrap your arms around yourself. You are wearing your tunic and your shirt, but without the thick coat, you feel naked against the chill. You rub your arms vigorously. Rub, rub, rub. You are trying to generate some friction. You look around the room. It is a world of shadows and grey mist. The steam from the animals is thick now. It hangs in the air like a fog. The room looks mysterious. You walk towards the fire. Your feet crunch on the cold herbs. You are the only human moving in the house. It feels lonely, but also important. You are the guardian of the morning. You reach the stall where you sat last night. Your boots are there, waiting for you. The leather is stiff and cold. You know they will be hard to put on. But before you dress, you have to attend to the water. You look at the bucket standing near the door. This is the water you brought in last night for drinking and cooking. You left it covered with a wooden board. You walk over to it. You lift the board. Even inside the house, the power of the winter has reached the water. You look down into the bucket. It is not liquid anymore. You have to deal with the ice before the day can begin. You pause for a second, shivering in the grey light. The animals are watching you. The cow turns her big head. The pig stops scratching. They are waiting for you to make the magic happen. They are waiting for the water and the door. You are awake. The night shift is over. The morning shift has begun. You are standing over the water bucket. It sits on the floor near the door, exactly where you left it last night. It is a simple object. It is made of wooden slats held together by hoops of hazel wood. It is heavy and solid. You look down into it. In the dim, grey light of the morning, the water does not look like water. It does not ripple. It does not reflect your face. It looks like a sheet of frosted glass. This is the proof of the night. You worked hard to keep the house warm. You had the fire, the walls, the roof, and the animals, and you succeeded. You and your family are warm. You are alive. But the heat you created was not quite enough to reach this corner near the door. The cold finger of the winter found the water. It has formed a lid of ice. You reach out with your finger. You tap the surface. Tink. It is a sharp, high sound. It sounds like tapping on a thin glass window. You press down a little harder. The ice holds. It is not just a thin film. It is a proper crust. It is about as thick as a coin. This ice tells you a story. It tells you that while you were dreaming in your warm bed, the temperature in this part of the room dropped below freezing. If you had slept here on the floor, you would be frozen too. It makes you appreciate the bed box even more. You need the water. You are thirsty. The smoke in the room dries out your throat, and the cow is thirsty too. You pick up the ladle that hangs on the rim of the bucket. It is a wooden cup on a long handle. You hold it like a hammer. You bring it down sharply on the ice. Crack. The sound is loud in the quiet room. The white sheet of ice shatters. It breaks into a dozen jagged pieces. They bob up and down in the dark water underneath. They look like little icebergs floating in a black sea. You push the ladle down. You push the ice shards out of the way. You scoop up a cupful of water. You lift it to your lips. You take a sip. Gasp. It is a shock. The water is incredibly cold. It hurts your teeth. It freezes your tongue. As you swallow, you can feel the icy liquid sliding all the way down your throat and into your stomach. It feels like you have swallowed a snowball, but it wakes you up. It is better than any caffeine. It sends a jolt of energy through your body. Your brain snaps to attention. The water tastes pure. It tastes of the deep earth from the well where you drew it. It tastes a little bit of the wood of the bucket. It is clean and sharp. You take another sip. This time, you are ready for the cold. It feels refreshing. It washes away the taste of the smoke and the sleep. You look at the cow. She's watching you. She stretches her neck out as far as the rope will let her. She can smell the water. You cannot bring the big bucket to her. It is too heavy to lift comfortably while you are still half asleep. So, you use a smaller bowl. You dip it into the bucket, dodging the floating ice, and fill it up. You walk over to her. You hold the bowl out. She plunges her nose into it. Slurp. Splash. She drinks greedily. She does not mind the cold. In fact, she seems to like it. She sucks the water up in seconds. You can hear the water traveling down her long throat. Glug, glug. She pulls her head back. Water drips from her chin onto the straw. She licks her lips with her long, rough tongue. She looks satisfied. You have done your duty. You have served the beast. Now, you turn back to the bucket. You have one more job to do with the water. You dip your hands into the freezing liquid. You cup a small amount in your palms. You splash it onto your face. Brr. It takes your breath away. It makes your skin tight. You rub your cheeks vigorously. The friction warms you up. You use a corner of your linen shirt to dry your face. You feel clean. You feel ready. The sleep is gone from your eyes. Now, you must dress. You cannot go outside in your indoor clothes. You need your armor back. You walk over to the stool where your boots are waiting. You look at them with a bit of dread. Yesterday, when you walked through the wet mud, the leather got soaked. Then, you took them off and left them near the fire. But the fire died down, the heat faded, and the wet leather began to dry. As leather dries, it shrinks. It gets hard. You pick up the left boot. It feels like it is made of wood. It is stiff and unyielding. The ankle part is folded over and frozen in place. You sit down on the stool. You hold the boot open with both hands. You have to use your strength to pull the sides apart. It creaks. Creak. You push your foot in. It goes in halfway and then stops. The heel is stuck. You grunt. You wiggle your foot. You push harder. You pull on the back of the boot. It is a struggle. It is the first battle of the day. You are fighting your own shoes. Finally, with a sudden pop, your heel slides down. Your foot is inside. It feels tight. The leather is cold and hard against your foot. It presses on your toes. It will take an hour of walking for the heat of your foot to soften the leather again. Until then, you will feel like you are walking in wooden boxes. You put on the other boot. Push, grunt, pop. Now you are shod. You stand up. You stamp your feet on the floor. Thud, thud. You are testing them. You are claiming the ground. You reach for your coat. It is hanging on the peg. It is mostly dry now, but it still feels heavy. You swing it over your shoulders. The wool is cold. It traps the chill of the morning against your tunic. You shiver for a second, waiting for your body heat to warm it up. You tie the belt around your waist. You pull it tight. You are sealing yourself in. You are making yourself airtight again. You put on your hood. You put on your mittens. You look like a round, grey bundle of wool. You are ready for the outside world. But before you open the door, you look back at the room. The family is still asleep. The breaking of the ice and the stamping of the boots did not wake them. They are deep in the warm nest. You are glad. Let them sleep. The sun is not up yet. There is no need for them to be cold. You look at the fire. You take the iron poker. You gently push the greyish aside. There it is. A small, glowing eye of red. The coal is still hot. You grab a handful of dry straw and toss it onto the coal. You blow on it gently, fast. The straw smokes, then catches. A small yellow flame jumps up. It is weak, but it is fire. You place a few small sticks on top. The fire begins to crackle. You have done your job. The house will be warm when they wake up. Now, you turn to the door. This is the barrier. On this side, it is your world. On the other side, it is the winter's world. You can see light coming through the cracks in the wood. It is brighter now. The grey is turning to white. The sun is getting close. You have to open the door to let the animals out. They cannot hold it forever. They need to go to the field or the yard, and you need to check the sky. You reach for the heavy wooden bar that locks the door. It feels rough and cold in your mitten. You lift it up. It is heavy solid oak. You lean it against the wall. You put your hand on the latch. The iron is covered in a thin layer of frost on the inside. It is sticky to the touch. You take a deep breath. You brace yourself. You know what is coming. The moment you open this door, The heat you saved all night will rush out, and the morning will rush in. You push the latch down. Clack, you pull the door towards you. It sticks for a moment, frozen to the frame. You pull harder. Creak, the door opens. The seal is broken. The morning shift meets the night shift. The door swings inward. It opens with a low, heavy groan of the iron hinges. Immediately, two things happen at the same time. First, the cold rushes in. It does not sneak in like the draft did last night. It invades. It rolls over the wooden step like a wave of invisible water. It hits your legs, your chest, and your face. It is fresh and sharp. It smells of absolutely nothing. It is cleaner than any air you have ever breathed. It washes away the smell of the smoke and the hay in a single second. Second, the warmth rushes out. The air inside the house has been building up all night. It is thick, humid, and warm. It is full of the breath of the cow, the pig, and the family. When you open the door, this warm air tries to escape. It rushes out into the freezing morning. As soon as it hits the cold outside, it turns into a cloud. You stand there in the doorway, hidden inside a sudden white fog. It looks like the house is on fire. Great billowing clouds of white steam pour out past your shoulders. It looks like a dragon sighing. You blink. The light is bright. It is not the golden light of the sun. Not yet. It is a flat, steel grey light. But after 12 hours of total darkness, it feels blinding. You have to squint. Your eyes water in the cold wind. You step back, pressing yourself against the doorframe. You have to make way. The traffic is coming through. Brun, the cow, does not wait. She has seen the open door. She has smelled the morning air. She moves forward. Clomp, clomp. Her big body brushes past you. She is wide. Her ribs press you into the wood. You can feel the heat of her body one last time. A passing wall of warmth. Then, she's over the step. She pauses on the threshold. This piece of wood at the bottom of the doorway is important. It is called the threshold. Thresh is an old word for a straw or rushes. This beam of wood is there to hold the thresh inside the house, so it doesn't spill out into the yard. Brun lifts her front hooves over the beam. She places them down on the ground outside. Crunch. It is a satisfying sound. The ground in the yard is covered in snow. It is a thin, hard layer. Her heavy weight punches right through the crust. She sinks a few inches into the white powder. She walks out slowly. Her back is covered in dust from the hay. As she steps into the cold, steam starts to rise from her whole body. She looks like a ghost cow. She walks a few paces into the yard and stops. She lifts her head and moans. Moo. The sound echoes. It travels far in the crisp air. It is her way of saying good morning to the world. Next comes the pig. He's faster. He scuttles past your legs. He's low to the ground, so he almost trips you up. Grunt. Squeak. He hops over the threshold. He lands in the snow. He seems surprised by how cold it is. He lifts one trotter up, then the other, doing a little dance. But he does not turn back. He's a scavenger. He knows that the morning is the best time to find food. He puts his nose down into the snow. He acts like a snowplow. He pushes a line through the white powder, sniffing for frozen roots or old bones. He trots away towards the rubbish heap at the bottom of the garden. You are left standing in the doorway. The animals are gone. The house feels suddenly empty behind you. The big, warm presence that filled the room is now standing in the yard. You step out. You lift your heavy boots over the threshold. You plant your feet on the frozen earth. You are outside. The change is instant. Inside, you are wrapped in a blanket of air. Outside, there is no blanket. The air is thin. It feels empty. You look around your yard. It is a small patch of land, enclosed by a wattle fence. Everything is white. The fence posts are wearing little white hats of snow. The old cart wheel leaning against the wall is traced in white lines. The world has lost its color. There is no green, no brown, no blue. There is only white snow and gray sky. It is beautiful, but it is also hard. You can feel the temperature trying to get through your wool coat. You pull your hood up tighter. You wrap your arms around your chest. You look at the ground where the animals walked. You can see their tracks. The cow has left deep, round holes in the snow. The pig has left funny little two-toed prints. You look at the midden. This is the manure pile in the corner of the yard. It is a big heap of dung and old straw from the stable. It is steaming furiously. The midden is actually hot. As the manure rots, it generates heat. It is so hot that the snow melts as soon as it touches it. It is a dark, brown mound in the middle of the white world. You see a small bird landing on it. It is a robin. He has a bright red chest. He hops around on the warm dunghill, looking for worms. He knows where the heat is. He's smart. You take a deep breath. You fill your lungs completely. The air hurts a little bit, but it wakes you up. It clears your head. It makes you feel strong. You have survived the night. You have made it to the morning. You look back at your house. From the outside, it looks like a small, humble thing. It is just a mound of mud with a hairy roof. It looks almost like a mushroom growing out of the snow. You can see the smoke rising from the ridge of the roof. It is a thin, blue line. It goes straight up into the still air. That smoke is the signal that life is continuing inside. The windows are just small, dark squares. The shutters are still closed. Your family is still asleep in there, warm in the box bed. You feel a flash of pride. You built that shell. You kept that fire burning. You are the reason they are sleeping safely. You turn back to the yard. The grey light is getting brighter. The shapes of the trees in the distance are becoming clearer. They look like black ink drawings on grey paper. You can hear sounds from the village now. You hear a dog barking. Woof, woof. It sounds sharp and clear. You hear the sound of wood being chopped. Thwack. Someone else is awake. Someone else is starting their fire. You hear the creak of another door opening nearby. The village is waking up. The night shift is officially over. The day shift is starting. You watch the cow. She's licking the frost off a fence post. Her rough tongue scrapes the ice away. She's gathering moisture. You walk over to her. Your boots crunch loudly. The snow is dry and powdery. It squeaks under your heels. You reach out and pat her neck. Her coat is cold on the surface now. The heat she had inside is fading fast. She's already growing her winter armor again. She steams in the cold air. She ignores you. She's looking at the gate. She wants to go to the field. Even though the grass is frozen, she wants to be free. You look up at the sky. The flat sheet of grey is starting to change. Over to the east, behind the black line of the forest, something is happening. The grey is turning to a pale, watery blue, and at the very bottom, near the horizon, there is a line of gold. It is faint, but it is there. The sun is coming. You feel a sense of relief. The night is the enemy. The night is when the cold wins, but the sun is the ally. When the sun comes up, the world will warm up. The ice will melt just a little bit. The water in the bucket will turn back into liquid. You stand there in the snow, a small grey figure in a big white landscape. You watch the horizon. You are waiting for the moment of victory. You are waiting for the return of the light. The air is absolutely still. The wind has gone. It is a frozen, silent pause before the day begins. You can see your own breath puffing out in front of you. Puff, puff. You are adding your own steam to the morning. You feel alive. The cold makes you feel every inch of your skin. It makes your blood pump faster. You are not tired anymore. You are ready. You are ready to open the gate. You are ready to start the work. But first, you want to see it. You want to see the first ray of light hit the snow. You want to see the world turn from grey to gold. You stand still in the crunching snow. Your breath floats around you like a white cloud. You keep your eyes fixed on the black line of the forest in the distance. You are waiting for the moment. It happens slowly at first, then all at once. The gold line on the horizon gets thicker. It turns from a pale yellow to a deep, rich orange. It pushes the blue darkness up into the sky. The stars fade away, one by one. They are shy. They cannot handle the light. Then you see it. A tiny spark appears between the trunks of the trees. It is brighter than any fire. It is brighter than any candle. It is the rim of the sun. It pushes its way up. It looks like a coin of molten gold rising out of the earth. As soon as the light hits the field, the world changes. A moment ago, the field was flat and dead and grey. Now, it catches fire. The snow is not just white. It is made of millions of tiny ice crystals. When the sun hits them, they sparkle. It looks like someone has spilled a chest of diamonds across the valley. Flash, sparkle, blink, the light rushes towards you. It travels across the frozen grass, over the frozen river, and through the wooden fence. It hits the wall of your house. The white mud wall suddenly glows. It turns pink and orange. It looks warm and welcoming. And then the light hits you. You close your eyes against the glare. You can feel it on your face. It is not a strong heat. It is a winter sun, weak and distant, but it is light. It touches your eyelids. It touches your cold nose. It feels like a blessing. You open your eyes again. You look down at your shadow. It stretches out behind you, long and thin and blue. It reaches all the way back to the door of the house. You look at the cow. The sun hits her red coat. She glows like copper. The steam rising from her back turns gold. She looks magical for a second, surrounded by a halo of light. You look at the smoke rising from the roof. It is no longer blue. It is white and bright against the clear sky. The village is transforming. The roofs of your neighbors' houses are lighting up. The church tower stands tall, catching the first rays. You hear a sound from inside the house. Creak. The bed is moving. The family is waking up. The light has found its way through the cracks in the shutters. It has painted a stripe of gold across the floor, right over the sleeping faces. They are stirring. They are ready to join the day. You feel a deep sense of calm. The long battle is over. The night tried to freeze you. The wind tried to break in. The frost tried to steal your water. But you stopped them all. You used the wood, the mud, the wool, and the animals. You used the ancient skills of your people. And you won. You are still here. Your house is still standing. Your family is warm. You take one last look at the sun. It is fully up now. A pale white ball hanging in the blue sky. It is cold, but it is there. It will climb higher. It will melt the ice on the bucket. It will warm the leather of your boots. You turn around. You walk back towards the open door. You stamp the snow off your boots on the threshold. Thump, thump. You step back inside. The room is still warm, though the air is fresher now. The smell of the night, the sleep, and the smoke is drifting out, replaced by the crisp scent of the morning. You hang your mittens on the peg. You are ready for the day's work. You are ready to chop the wood and milk the cow. You are ready to do it all again. Because you know the sun will go down again tonight. The cold will come back. The night shift never truly ends. It just pauses. But you are not afraid. You know what to do. You have the skills. You have the fire. You have the herd. You are the keeper of the warmth. And for now, your watch is done. The story of the cold night is finished. You can let the image of the snowy field fade away. You can let the sound of the wind and the crunch of the ice drift out of your mind. You do not need to worry about the frost anymore. You do not need to fix the cracks in the wall or break the ice on the water. That work is done. It is in the past. You are safe in your own time. You are warm in your own bed. The blankets you have are soft and clean. The air in your room is still and peaceful. There is no draft on your neck. There is no hard floor beneath you. You can feel your own muscles relaxing now. The tension of the cold has gone. Your shoulders are loose. Your legs are heavy. Your breathing is slow and steady, just like the deep, calm breathing of the sleeping house. You have walked through the freezing dark, and you have come out into the golden light. You have seen how the heat is made and how it is kept. You have felt the comfort of the shelter. Now you can rest. The world is turning safely. The history is sleeping. You can drift down into the warmth, deep and safe and secure. The sun is rising. The gates are opening. The watch is ended.